yards last year against LSU. Kicking off for Marshall, J.R. Jenkins, the freshman from Loganville, Georgia. Getting set to make history here in Pontiac, Michigan. The Ford Motor City Bowl. Lucas and Avery, the two deep men. And they are going to kick away from Avery. It'll be Lucas at his 15-yard line. 20, 25, cuts it up 30, has an opening 40, 45, or 44 actually, and he is brought down by Albert Barber. Take a look at Ole Miss offensively. Redshirt senior quarterback Stuart Patridge set single-season school records for completions, yards passing, and total offense. His prime target, All-American sophomore tight end Rufus French, leads the team in receptions, 43 on the year. And up front, fifth-year senior Boyd Kitchens, nicknamed Father Time by the coaches. He has fought back from 2 serious knee injuries to play all 11 games here in 1997. Line of scrimmage, a 44-yard line. Ole Miss, first play of the game. Patridge looking deep, has a receiver downfield. Hurd, 15, 10, and he is brought down at the 1/2-yard line.
Jerry, Oregon, when they started the ball game against Air Force, threw a long pass to their wide receiver Johnson, hit it for a touchdown, and never looked back. Ole Miss trying to do the very same thing. Stuart Patridge with the pump and go to Grant Hurd. He just ran by the defender. Good fake. There's the pump. There's the deep throw right on the money to the 6'3", Grant Hurd. Celebration by Stuart Patridge, who's had a great senior year.
Now you know why he's got 2,600 yards passing in 1997. The give to Avery, and on the second play of the game, Ole Miss scores.
Well, I'll say the same thing I said in the Oregon game. Sometimes you can score too fast and you go to sleep, but this Ole Miss football team has worked very hard. They've overcome a lot of obstacles. The NCAA, the probation, and they have worked very hard for this bowl game, so I think they will stay alert.
Well, if you turned your head, a 54-yard completion on the opening play to Grant Hurd to the half-yard line, and then Avery over from a half-yard away, 24 seconds, and Steve Lindsey will kick the extra point to make it 7-zip Ole Miss. We told you you're in for an offensive explosion. They had to change the bulbs in the scoreboard at halftime.
Well, the key was Marshall wanted to come out and set the tempo, and so did Ole Miss. They wanted to both come out and try to see who could set the tempo in this ball game. Now Marshall has to answer the Ole Miss score.
Tommy Tuberville. There's a look at Bob Pruitt, realizing he's got a lot of weapons to counter with. And there is Sean Avery. Got a chance to meet his idol yesterday morning here at the Silverdome, Barry Sanders, and we'll tell you about that conversation a little later on. An impressive senior running back from Asheville, North Carolina. And in 24 seconds, Ole Miss is up 7-zip.
That's a coach's worst nightmare. The first play to get hit with a bomb. We played Texas when I was in Pittsburgh in the Blue Bonnet Bowl game. We closed that bowl down, and on the first play, Texas hit us with a bomb and took a 7-0 lead. Took a lot out of our ball club. Let's see if Marshall can respond here.
All right, there's Lindsey to kick it off. Maurice Hines and Nathan Poole, a freshman and sophomore, deep to receive. A high end-over-end kick, and Hines will just down it in the end zone. Marshall will start first and 10 on their own 20-yard line. Take a look at the Marshall offense. It all begins with trigger man, all-conference quarterback Chad Pennington, who set an NCAA record with 39 touchdown passes as a sophomore. Among his receivers, well, All-American Randy Moss might be the man, but it's junior Lavorne Colclough who caught the longest TD pass of the year, a 92-yarder versus Kent. And up front, senior co-captain John Wade is rated among the top 2 or 3 centers in the nation. There's a look at Randy Moss, 6'5", 210-pound sophomore from Rand, West Virginia. Single setback is Chapman. Pennington back to pass, looking for Moss, downfield, has him at the 40-yard line, 35, 30, 20, and Randy Moss will score! plays and 2 touchdowns.
Well, Jerry, right away, they're going to try to go to their big play receiver, Chad Pennington, who Bob Pruitt says is as good a quarterback as I've been around. That's Danny Werfel also in that group. Randy Moss just ran right by Malika Griffin, number 34, shows the speed, the ability to stretch out, make the catch, the touchdown.
Well, Billy Milicevic will make it all tied up at 7 apiece. Well, in 41 seconds of the first quarter of the very first Ford Motor City Bowl, we have 2 touchdowns, and we're all tied at... All right, in case you were making a sandwich and missed the start of the game, you've only missed 3 plays, 2 touchdowns, and 14 points.
I think both secondaries were making sandwiches there in the first play.
80 yards to Randy Moss, and let's try it again. Let's see if they'll kick it off to Avery. A sky kick, short kick. Ken Lucas takes it at the 22, across the field, near the 30, and that's where Ole Miss will start. Albert Barber, the linebacker, making the stop.
A lot of respect for John Avery to kick away from him. He do not want the ball close to him.
Take a look at Marshall defensively. Senior co-captain B.J. Cohen led the team in sacks this year with 13 from his rush in position. First team all-conference middle linebacker Larry McLeod not only led the team in tackles but ranked 2nd in school history for that category. And in the secondary, Rogers Beckett and Larry Moore, both second-team all-MAC selections, are tied for the team lead with 3 interceptions each. All right, 4th play of the football game. And they will give it on it to Avery. Left side has some running room, 35, 40. And raced out of bounds at about the 44-yard line.
Jerry, John Avery is the fastest player in the SEC. They like to get him the ball outside. He's a better outside runner than he is an inside runner. He picks up some very good blocks on the outside from Corey Peterson.
And he got up limping, but as he trots off the field, he lost his shoe.
He played 1 game this year on turf against Tulane and got injured in that ball game, but I think the turf's going to help him in this football game.
All right, Avery goes to the sidelines and have that shoe put on, and a little bit of a smile from Tommy Tuberville. Deuce McAllister, a true freshman, in as the lone setback. Patridge back to pass, has a receiver, and the receiver gets tangled up with the linebacker on the coverage. Andre O'Neal, the sophomore out of Decatur, Georgia. Pass intended for Rufus French, the tight end.
I guess see no evil, feel no evil there. I mean, there was a collision made there. Andre O'Neal collisioned the wide receiver, but the officials felt like it was a no-call situation.
That'll bring up the 2nd and 10 for Ole Miss. Line of scrimmage, their own 44-yard line. 4 wide receivers. Slot back. Here's McAllister. Patridge looks across the middle, and he will go down at about the line of scrimmage. B.J. Cohen, the rush in, who leads the team in sacks this year, gets his 14th of the season.
Yeah, B.J. Cohen is the big play defensive player on this Marshall defense. He's voted first-team all-MAC by the coaches, and you can see how he's able to come on the outside. He's a wide rush, and he beats the block of Devon Coburn.
All right, 3rd and 10 for Ole Miss. Marshall brings the pressure from outside. Pass to French at the 45-yard line. He will get about 3. And that will be short of the first down. John Grace, the weak side linebacker, there to make the stop.
And a good series by the Marshall defense. Of course, John Avery played 1 play and then went to the sidelines. Ole Miss is not the same football team without John Avery on that field.
All right, there's a look at Randy Moss back to receive the punt. Now, I got to remind you that Tommy Tuberville, they call him the Mississippi Gambler. And he has faked a lot of punts this year. Back to kick is Kevin Cooper, and he will kick it a very, very high kick, and Moss will call for the fair catch at the 25-yard line. They will mark it at the 24 for Marshall's 2nd possession. Take a look at Ole Miss defensively. Up front, senior defensive end Andre Harrison leads the team in sacks, maybe the best run defender. Middle linebacker Nate Wayne, the 3-year starter, is the emotional leader of this unit. That's why he wears number 38 in memory of Chucky Mullins. And in the secondary, senior Malika Griffin is tied for the team lead with 3 interceptions, but he draws the unenviable task of having to cover 6'5" Randy Moss. That was him trying to cover him on the opening play a moment ago. Line of scrimmage, a 19-yard line. First and 10, second possession for Marshall. Chapman up over the 25, near a first down.
Well, the importance of the running game tonight for Marshall, Jerry, is when Moss caught that first pass, now all of a sudden it changes your defensive structure. Now you have to provide with some linebacker help, some safety help on Moss. That opens up the running game. Chad Pennington's checking at the line of scrimmage. He's counting the number of people in that tackle-to-tackle box.
All right, 4 wide receivers on the first down after the gain of 11 by Chapman. Pennington checking off the line of scrimmage, and will give it to Chapman, who runs into his own offensive lineman and still manages to get 5 yards, fumbles the football right into the hands of an Ole Miss defender. It'll be Ole Miss football. As Chapman was hit, the ball bounced out up in the air, and looked like Malika Griffin, the left cornerback, may have made the initial hit.
Well, here's the reason they're running the football. There's 6 men in the box. Now the tackle on Chapman. The ball's going to fly right up in the air. Picked off by Ole Miss, and great field position on the 38-yard line. Good block. There's the hit. Brock Kreitz. And Ole Miss in good position here.
So it was Malika Griffin that jarred the ball loose. Brock Kreitz, the weak side linebacker and defensive co-captain. As John Avery cuts to the outside, will cut it back inside, and he will have enough for the first down.
Jerry, I think the big question for Marshall tonight is whether the defensive line, who's not very big and hasn't played the caliber of competition, the offensive line, they've played great teams all year. I don't want to say that, but they haven't played as good an offensive line as they're playing tonight in Ole Miss. And whether or not they can hold up is a big question.
There's about a 40-pound weight advantage, 40 to 45 pounds for Ole Miss offensively over the Thundering Herd defensive front. First and 10, and they will give the inside handoff to Avery. He stutter steps and will fight his way for about 7 or 8 yards down near the 20-yard line.
Well, I said something early, and I want to go back to it. Turf helps a running back. In this area, he's so quick. John Avery is a back that can make a cut on a dime, and with the turf, he just increases his speed against the defense. He's a great outside runner. He's run the last 2 plays inside, showing a lot of good effect on that also.
You make a point, Coach. It's incredible that Avery has the kind of numbers he has playing on grass for most of the year. Once again, the give to Avery. Eli Anding, the fullback, trying to get a block, but they swarm Avery back at about the 27-yard line.
B.J. Cohen again on the outside, number 5. He's the best, one of the top defenders for Marshall. They're going to try to stretch this thing out, but you can see Marshall move exactly with it. Keep parallel, keep pad on pad. A good job by the corner, Larry Moore, who stopped that play, and then B.J. Cohen made the tackle.
Well, with a loss of 8, that'll bring up a 3rd and 12. Line of scrimmage, the Marshall 29-yard line. In the first quarter, all tied at 7 apiece. Shotgun for Stuart Patridge at Ole Miss. Patridge looking straight upfield, getting some pressure, and now releases the football. Has a receiver, but a great defensive play by B.J. Summers, the senior cornerback out of Forestville, Maryland.
Good job by B.J. Summers. Stuart Patridge had a good time to throw the ball because they went to a 2-back set, and both backs helped on pass protection. Here's going to be the throw to Andre Rolle, number 5, and you're going to see number 8, B.J. Summers, knock that football away. Sheldon Morris, number 86, was the receiver.
46-yard field goal attempt for Steve Lindsey. He is 3 for 5 from this distance on the year. It is long enough, and it is wide right. So still in the first quarter here at the inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. We are all knotted at 7 apiece. 7-7, Ole Miss and Marshall. That is Bobby Killian there. He is the snapper for the field goals. And a moment ago, Coach, this 46-yarder was wide right.
Yeah, bad snap. It's going to bounce back to the holder, Randall Green. He gets it turned. He gets the seams away and just sliced it to the right.
All right, wide right, so we're all knotted at 7 apiece. Possession, Marshall. And they fake the ball to Chapman, looking again for Moss downfield. And Malika Griffin right with him, step for step, and the ball is overthrown.
When you talked to Malika Griffin last night, and I know they feel like they played against receivers just as good as Randy Moss, but Randy Moss had a step on Malika Griffin again that time.
What Malika wanted to do last night, they talked about the fact that they wanted to be able to challenge him with the bump and run, trying to keep him from getting off the line of scrimmage with those long legs and getting started. But that first play we saw a little bit ago, he gets started in a hurry.
Well, he caught a cold because he ran by him so fast, and on that play, he showed great speed. Again, Malika Griffin's going to have to give a little room.
All right, 2nd and 10, shotgun for Chad Pennington. Getting some pressure from outside. The quick flip to Chapman, and he will maybe get a couple.
Marshall's a big screen team because when you have a weapon like Randy Moss, then everything rolls to Randy Moss. So you like the screens to Chapman and to L.B. Copeland, the other receiver, number 18. He becomes big in the plans of Marshall because everybody tries to stop Randy Moss.
All right, 3rd and 9. Randy Moss has come off the playing field. 3 wide, make it 4 wide receivers. Pennington back to pass, gets some pressure. Has a man up about 2 yards shy of the first down. That is Lavorne Coleclaw, LV they call him. And that'll bring up a 4th and about 1.5 yards.
Well, that's the player I was talking about, Jerry. LV Coleclaw. He is 6'3", 209-pound junior. Got 8 touchdown catches this year. Great route runner. He caught 6 passes and a touchdown versus West Virginia. A little too early to gamble here. I think you got to punt the football.
Well, I think the players were trying to convince Bobby Pruitt to go for it.
Convincing that.
Man. And now a little bit of confusion, and we will have timeout on the Ole Miss side of the field. So timeout with 8 minutes and 8 seconds remaining here in the first quarter in Pontiac, Michigan. We are all knotted at 7 apiece.
Team in. Ole Miss was caught in with too many people because they had the regular defense in, wanting to get their punt return on. Now also punt safe here. Now Ole Miss is looking for a fake.
All right, Chris Hansen back to kick. The junior from Sonoya, Georgia. He launched a 70-yarder this year against West Virginia in the opener. No pressure. End-over-end kick, and taken at the 25-yard line by Corey Peterson. As we check in down on the sidelines with Dave Ryan.
Well, guys, there are some injury problems at Ole Miss to talk about. Wide receiver Grant Hurd, who had that long catch early in the game for the Rebels, bruised his right knee on that same play. Now he's got a tight wrap on the knee, and they just sent him back into the lineup for the Rebels, and he's going to give it a go. He's had problems doing his warm-ups on the sidelines. Also, an injury to Terrence Metcalf, the left guard, number 79, a strained right shoulder. But trainer Tim Mullen says just sore, he should be okay to return to action. Guys?
Well, there's Metcalf, SEC all-freshman team, 6'3", 302-pounder out of Clarksdale, Mississippi. 1st and 10, Ole Miss, 25-yard line. They fake it to Avery and give it on the flanker around Ken Lucas, and he will get nothing.
Well, so far in this first quarter, it's been a highlight film for B.J. Cohen. He plays the outside linebacker position. When the ball goes away, he stays home. He does not chase the football and was right there for the reverse. You'll see number 5, B.J. Cohen. He just sits there, sees the reverse. Now he makes the tackle on Ken Lucas.
Well, Lucas was a sitting duck when he came around Cohen right in his face. The senior from Connally, Georgia. First team All-Mid-American Conference. 5-yard loss will bring up 2nd and 15. Inside handoff, and that is Avery once again, and boy, is he quick. Coaches said you can't tackle him in a phone booth, and he danced around a couple of potential tacklers there.
Well, you talked about Jerry. His idol is Barry Sanders, and he met him the other day, and the coaches were telling me how much of a comedian that John Avery is, but when he finally met Barry Sanders, he couldn't speak.
You know, he couldn't say anything, but when he finally did speak, I asked John, what did you say to him? He said, I just thank the good Lord for someone like him to be a role model for people like me, both on and off the playing field. That tells you a lot about what
very nice
kind of person Avery is. And he has stood up at the line of scrimmage on 3rd and short. May have lost about a yard. John Grace in from the weak side linebacker spot there to make the stop, and that will make Ole Miss have to kick it away.
And all this is doing is this is giving Marshall hope, because when they came into this football game, they were playing against a Southeastern Conference team. Everybody said they may not be able to match up. The longer this game goes, the more chance that Marshall has to win this football game, because they're starting to believe they can hang in here with an SEC football team.
All right, there's a look at Reagan King, the redshirt freshman from Ackerman, Mississippi, averaging 41 yards a punt. 53 yards is long on the year, and back to receive Randy Moss. Nice high spiral. Moss waving for the fair catch at the 26-yard line. 43-yard kick by Reagan King. Well, join ESPN tomorrow for a college football doubleheader. At 2:30, Southwest Athletic Conference champion Southern takes on South Carolina State in the McDonald's Heritage Bowl. Then at 8, New Mexico, led by quarterback Graham Lee, battles the Wildcats of Arizona in the Inside.com Bowl. That's a college football doubleheader tomorrow on ESPN.
I was on the plane with that Southern team as they were going to Atlanta. They have some big players. They've got a good football team.
Oh, indeed they do. Should be quite a football game there in the Georgia Dome. Now Moss, bottom of your screen, on Malika Griffin, as Pennington throws in the other direction for LV. LaVorn Colclaw, and he will get maybe 1.5 yards, 2 yards.
Well, Bob Pruitt on the sideline, the head coach, is going to continually say to Tim Nunez, the offensive coordinator, get the ball to Randy Moss. And what Bob Pruitt was talking about Randy Moss for the ball game, he said last year in the Southern Conference track meet, Randy Moss worked out for one day, may have shook his leg, and then went out and won the 255 meters in the track championship for Marshall. So just tells you what kind of athlete Randy Moss is.
A remarkable athlete indeed. 6'5", 210 pounds, a 4.25 40. As Pennington again gets the ball to Colclaw, and there to make the stop, Walker Jones, the senior from Jackson, Mississippi.
Well, what Marshall's trying to do is on the outside, they're trying to get the ball because they've got 3 receivers against 2 defensive backs, but there's the missed block right here.
All right, Walker Jones fighting through that block to be able to make the stop to bring up a 3rd down situation, 3rd and 8 for the Thundering Herd.
Terry, now they've got all wide receivers to the left. They got one-on-one, they believe, to Randy Moss.
That was the opening play of the game. They look toward Moss. He tries to dance by Griffin, and he throws it left side, has it completed up at the 35-yard line, and that is Nathan Poole, the slot back.
Boy, he worked hard, Nathan Poole, to try to reach that 1st down marker. Chad Pennington taking again what the defense gives him. It looked like Randy Moss was one-on-one, but they had the safety over the top, so he went to the backside.
All right, the officials conferring. Gary Thigpen there, the right cornerback, chased him out of bounds right at the 1st down mark.
The all-important spot.
We have a fumble going forward out of bounds. By rule, the ball is returned to the spot of the fumble. We'll have an official timeout for a measurement.
All right, that pretty well explains what happened. So fumbling it out of bounds, didn't get the 1st down. Can't do that anymore. Not in college football.
I keep blaming Kenny Stabler for that rule.
But what a great idea it was, huh? All right, let's see if we can possibly see what happened. Nathan Poole made the reception, was trying to dance free to get the 1st down.
A missed tackle right in the secondary by Timothy Strickland, number 3. And then you see the gang tackle and the ball drop out of his hands.
looked like he was reaching the ball with his right hand toward the sticks when the ball came out.
Marshall's going to go for this, try to draw Ole Miss offside, quarterback sneak or Doug Chapman.
Well, 4th and about 3 inches. You got a 6'3", 208-pound quarterback in Chad Pennington. And they will sneak it, and boy, he didn't get much.
Jerry, he didn't need much. He just needed that little inch, and he followed John Wade, the center, who's 6'6", 302 pounds, and a lot of the pro players feel like he's in the top 3 centers in the country. Here's the line of scrimmage, the push by Big John Wade, and the first down for Chad Pennington.
You know, Tim Nunez says of John Wade, his center, said, I have never seen a guy 300 pounds that quick. I mean, he's incredibly quick and maybe one of the best pass blockers in the country.
And the first player in Marshall history to go to the Senior Bowl.
4 wide receivers once again. 1st and 10. Marshall on the drive. Their own territory. They give the ball to Chapman, and he is met in the backfield. A great effort by Morris Scott, the junior left end.
The big question for Marshall on the offensive side of the ball, can their tackles hold up against the 2 defensive ends? Because what you have outside for Ole Miss is so much speed and quickness. Morris Scott, number 95, and that's the key right here, the key block on the outside on Morris Scott. He comes around that block and makes the hit on Doug Chapman.
All right, no gain. 2nd and 10. Randy Moss, the lone receiver, topping her screen. Pennington looks to the inside and has Poole once again, and he is thrown out of bounds in Ole Miss territory at about the 38-yard line. Gain of 25.
Jerry, they're working on Malik Griffin now. They're trying to go to his side. They feel like they have something over on that side against number 34, Malik Griffin, the young corner, senior corner. He's 5'8".
There's a look at Malika Griffin, the senior. You mentioned he's a track star at Ole Miss. 55-meter and 100 meters, indoor and outdoor track star for the Rebels. Thundering Herd drive continues. 1st and 10 at the 39-yard line. Chapman cuts it back, will get 3, and is met by a swarm of Rebels at about the 36.
All this is happening at the line of scrimmage. Chad Pennington, the quarterback, who Bob Pruitt said is the smartest and best quarterback I've ever been around. And he was on Steve Spurrier's staff and Danny Wuerffel, and he has tremendous respect for Danny Wuerffel, but he says Chad Pennington deserves to be right up there with the people they're talking about future Heismans. He thinks he's that good.
Pennington is 7 for 8, 121 yards, and we still have a couple minutes to play in the first quarter. That tells you how good that young man is as a redshirt sophomore. As the play clock expires, and Marshall will get a 5-yard penalty.
You talk about Chad Pennington. Came to Marshall as a freshman, figuring he'd redshirt. All of a sudden, the 3rd game, both quarterbacks were knocked out. He played the entire season, 14 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions. Eric Kresser transferred the next year from Florida. He battled him to the last scrimmage. They gave Eric Kresser the job. He redshirted, and now he's back for the his third year here, and he's led this Marshall team to the Motor City Classic here.
All right, 2nd and 13. And he will hand it off to Chapman, who dances by one tackler, has an opening in the secondary, down the 25-yard line. And a gain of 19 yards. He breaks one more tackle from Jason Klingon, and he scores.
Trying to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, Doug Chapman. Now watch, there's a block right here. It's a good block on the outside, opens it up. And then a good move against the linebacker, Spearman, number 4, and Chapman's in the secondary. There's the missed tackle by Spearman, number 4. Now there's nobody till Jason Klingon, number 23, makes the tackle.
And he just gets him by the right shoe. Low Turner in as a setback. The in-striker screen to Moss. He dances around and draws a lot of attention. He will lose about 3.
Well, they had that diagnosed. Figure Randy Moss, I figure he's going to get the ball 10, 12 times a game. And he's caught one touchdown pass already. They tried to get him to screen against Tommy Tuberville's defense, but they were able to see that. The backers played it very well.
Tommy Tuberville knowing that he's going to have at least one guy, if not two, when they can, shadow Randy Moss. And, of course, Marshall countering with the fact that they want to have as many wide receivers to try to get man coverage. One-on-one, which is exactly what they will have on this 2nd and 13. But Marshall will call timeout and talk it over. As the play clock was about to expire once again, and rather than lose 5 yards, Chad Pennington will take some time. The best pregame show on TV brings you the latest from the NFL playoffs with interviews, analysis, the latest news, and more. NFL Countdown tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. and Sunday at noon. And after the playoff games, join ESPN both nights at 7:30 for NFL Primetime. That's NFL Countdown tomorrow morning at 11:30, NFL Primetime at 7:30 on ESPN.
Jerry, in the old days when they had the Tangerine Bowl, the Mid-American used to play the SEC in 73. Miami of Ohio had a great ball club. They beat Florida 16-7. Then they went back in 74 and beat Georgia 21-10. Back in 75, beat South Carolina 20-7. So the Mid-American is an underrated football conference. Toledo beat Purdue this year. Miami of Ohio beat Virginia Tech. So it's a league that sets a lot of good athletes.
Talking about good athletes, take a look where this guy right here, Chad Pennington, ranked among the NCAA stats as a player, as a quarterback. TD passes first, 39, passing yards 6th, and passing efficiency 151.9 in the top 10 in 3 categories.
Guys don't do that from powder puff on the way to pros. Did it in 1 year.
All right, shotgun formation, 2nd and 13. Pennington looking to his right as a receiver, and the ball is tipped away by Malika Griffin.
Well, they're working on Malika, but he made the play on this one. He was able to get his left hand in there and knock the ball away from L.B. Kolklaw. Nice post throw by Chad Pennington, but Malika Griffin played it very well.
That'll bring up a 3rd and 13.
Marshall's had success with the draw. They've had success running the football.
11th play of the drive for the Thundering Herd. 35 seconds remain here in the first quarter. Pennington pump fakes, looks right, and now will scamper left, tucks in, runs, and he will be short of the first down. Johnny Jones, the left end, will run him out of bounds about 6 yards shy.
Jerry, Chad Pennington was trying to go to Moss on the right side, but they bumped him, and then they put the safety over top of him. You're going to see Malika Griffin hit him at the line of scrimmage, try to knock him off a little bit, and the safety's going to pick him up a little deeper. But Randy Moss has to learn one thing. He's got to run this out all the way, every play when the ball's going away from him. Sometimes that's a little bit of a knock on Randy Moss, is that when the ball doesn't go his way, that he doesn't go full speed.
All right, Billy Malashevich attempting a 36-yard field goal. Malashevich, 1 of 2 from 30 to 39 yards. The kick is up, dead center, and it is good. All right, 10-7. And if you missed the opening of the football game, fireworks exploded early here in the Ford Motor City Bowl. Very first play from scrimmage for Ole Miss, a 54-yard connection. Stuart Patrick to Grant Hurd, and the second play of the game, a half-yard dive by John Avery, 7-0. Marshall comes back, 80 yards, their very first play from scrimmage. Pennington to Moss, and it's 7-7, and on that 36-yard field goal a moment ago by Malashevich, that's the scoring here in the first quarter, 10-7, favor of Marshall.
Ole Miss needs to take advantage of the short kickoff here. They know they're not going to kick the ball to John Avery. They're going to switch positions in the back now. They're going to try to see if Marshall's alert here. They've moved John Avery over to the left side.
They know that J.R. Jenkins, the freshman, has kicked the ball to this side of the field. No, he was aware where it was, and he kicked the ball out of bounds.
That's a way to keep it away from him. That's the respect you have for John Avery. I was in the watching a Virginia Auburn early in the year. Bill Polian, who now is with the Colts, and a lot of pro scouts were sitting around watching highlights of John Avery. Great deal of respect for this young man. Pro people have.
Oh, indeed, as well they should have. Bob Pruitt not wanting to kick the ball to Avery. Take a look at the Marshall scoring drive. 12 plays, 54 yards, 5 minutes, 27 seconds. Malashevich, 36-yard field goal to put the Thundering Herd up by 3.
Ole Miss needs to go back to their game plan right now and settle down a little bit. Take advantage of the big offensive line.
All right, they will give it to Avery, what should be the final play of the first quarter, and he turns up the wick and will be chased out of bounds at about the 42-yard line. We apparently will get one more play here in the first quarter. Rufus French, the all-conference tight end, a great block to be able to spring Avery on the corner.
And they run the counter, Jerry, and then getting both guards out in front of that counter play to try to get John Avery on the corner. Tommy Tuberville, the head coach, said he's the fastest player I've ever coached. Remember, he was a coach at Miami as an assistant under Dennis Erickson, so he had a lot of quick people in Miami, but he says John Avery's the fastest.
All right, 2nd and 5. Patridge back to throw. Has a receiver wide open over the middle. Andre Roan. He will have the first down and more. At midfield, he is out of bounds. And on the gain of 11, that will end the first quarter. Well, we told you it would be an offensive show. Football fireworks, and it started in a hurry. Marshall's very first play from scrimmage. This 80-yard reception by guess who? Randy Moss. And Marshall on the board. 10-7 at the end of a quarter. Randy Moss. That probably stands for really fast. 10-7. Marshall over Ole Miss at the end of a quarter. Ole Miss with the football at midfield. Patridge looking downfield, wide open at the 38-yard line. Is the H-back, Andre Roan, for a gain of 11. As we check in on the sidelines with Dave Ryan. Dave?
Doctor, thanks very much. A couple of very distinguished guests with me here. John Englers, the governor from the state of Michigan. George Perles, the executive director of the Ford Motor City Bowl. George, we'll start with you. A year and a half of work, a lot of effort. It's finally here, a great moment to kick off Bowl Week here on ESPN.
I'm so happy, I don't know what to say. I'm excited about the people that came to watch the game, but I'm more excited about the support we got from the governor and Mayor Moore and Mayor Archer from Pontiac and Detroit, and Peter Secchi, our ambassador, and just everybody, Ford Motor Company.
Congratulations on a job well done here.
Thank you.
Let's go to the governor now. This has got to be a very exciting time for you. We saw Michigan State play yesterday, didn't do so well. You got Michigan coming up in the Rose Bowl. Couldn't ask for anything more here in the state.
Well, it's football crazy state, and MAC is a very important conference. 3 MAC members in central, eastern, and western Michigan here. Marshall's a great champion, and this is a great bowl for the state. Hats off to the Ford Motor Company and George Perles for putting it all together.
Governor, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Guys, back upstairs.
All right, Governor Engler, a big football fan, and George Perles, what a job he and his staff have done to put this bowl game together for the very first year. All right, 2nd and 2. Ole Miss, they will give it to Avery out of the I formation, and flag on the play. We may have gotten a hold. Avery would have been short of the first down anyway, but
I think it's going to be Terrence Metcalf, number 79.
Holding. Offense. 10 yards. Line of scrimmage. Replay, 2nd down.
Well, that hurts, Jerry, because they had the first down, it looked like. Terrence Metcalf, number 79, is going to get a hold right here. Kind of pull the nose guard. Robbie Mercer.
John Avery trying to cut back behind the hold, and That penalty will make it 2nd and 11 for Ole Miss at the Marshall 38-yard line. 10-7 early in the second quarter. Pass complete down to the 28. That's Corey Peterson, the sophomore out of Germantown, Tennessee.
Ole Miss is led by their quarterback, Stuart Patridge. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. The coaches talked about he's been the most valuable player of their offense. He threw for 234 yards in a 15-14 win over Mississippi State. When I talked to George Perlis, he said Mississippi State was coming to this bowl. They were going to invite them. When Ole Miss beat them, Ole Miss knocked their rival off in that ball game and knocked them out of this bowl, too.
That's the redshirt senior from Morgan City, Mississippi. Stuart Patridge, 3rd and a couple. Patridge getting pressured, gets it loose and can't quite get to it. Is Eli Anding. Patridge had to get rid of the football. Ricky Hall knifing through from his nose guard position.
Well, decision for Tommy Tuberville here. I think he has to go for this. He's lost a little momentum in this football game. 3rd down, tried to throw the football to Eli Anding, but the pressure by Marshall. Now he gets put in a situation, 4th and 2.5, that he needs to get this first down.
Well, it would be a 45-yard field goal if they were trying to attempt it here, but nothing doing for the Mississippi Gambler, Tommy Tuberville.
Marshall wants a timeout.
All right, with timeout on the field, we'll take it with them, as Marshall will talk it over and see what they can do to possibly stop this 4th down conversion by Ole Miss. Back in a moment.
Michigan invites you to jump in the lake.
Look at as they're starting to walk around here. There's some confusion. Number 28, Larry McLeod, he didn't like what he sees, so he made the timeout call.
All right, Ole Miss 12 of 16 on 4th down conversion, 75% on the year. Patridge back to throw. Has a receiver, and he is nailed at about the 23-yard line. Roan could not hang on. Thomas Maxwell, the defensive captain, he's the Rover senior from Decatur, Georgia, just leveled Andre Roan.
You know, and Ole Miss looks flat to me. They scored a touchdown right off the bat, and offensively they look flat. Andre Roan, that ball was right to him. Thomas Maxwell with a good hit. They got good protection right here. They keep both backs in. Now Flair the backside back. Crossing route right there. He's going to run right through him. Thomas Maxwell caused him to cough up the football.
All right, shotgun formation, 4 wide receivers for Marshall. As they will go over the middle, beautiful pass to LV, Lavorne Coldclough. And he is up near midfield. Jason Klingy brings him down, but not until a 20-yard gain.
Well, there's no doubt, Jerry, right now in this first half, the better team is Marshall. They have looked the best of both these football teams. And on the last play, Ole Miss did a good job on Randy Moss, but let L.B. Coldclough down the middle. And Chad Pennington showing you why Bob Pruitt thinks he should be a Heisman candidate in the future.
Marshall receivers running crisp routes. Nice tight spirals by Pennington as he's back to pass once again. Great throw, and he can't quite hang on. That is Mark Wicks, the senior from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania.
Well, Thigpen made a good play on that, but on the other side of the ball, they're starting to be a little physical with Randy Moss. They're trying to keep him, Malika Griffin, they're trying to keep him on the line of scrimmage. There's the bump. They're trying to knock him off his route so that Chad Pennington will take and go away from him to the other receivers.
Pennington 9 for 12, 138 yards. 2nd and 10 for the Thundering Herd. They give to the tailback, and he will get maybe a yard, yard and a half. Stood up the line of scrimmage by Walker Jones. And the number 95, Morris Scott.
The story of this first half has been the offensive line of Marshall. It's done a nice job against the defensive front of Ole Miss. They've handled the quickness of the defensive ends to this point. Chad Pennington's calling a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage against the defensive front that Ole Miss is showing him. But this Marshall offensive line has been up to the task so far.
All right, 3rd and 8. Randy Moss, bottom of your screen, 3 wide receivers top. Pennington looking right toward Coldclough, making the catch will be Nathan Poole, the sophomore out of Danville.
Here's what I was talking about, Jerry. The offensive line for Marshall's doing a nice job. As they set up both tackles, they're wheeling the outside. They're making them, forcing them around the corner of Chad Pennington. And he's able to step up and make that throw.
Nice tackle by Anthony McGee, the nickelback, the true freshman out of Collins, Mississippi, to save the first down by Nathan Poole. All right, Chris Hansen back to kick. End over ender, tumbling down. It'll hit at about the 4-yard line and bound into the end zone. So Ole Miss will have it 1st and 10 on their own 20-yard line. All right, timeout on the field. 11 minutes and 9 seconds remaining here in the first half. 17 points are scored. We've got a 3-point football game. First quarter. Still 11 minutes to play here in the first half. I formation. Patridge back to throw. Downfield, pass overthrown and picked off at the 40-yard line by Larry Moore. Moore at the 35, 40, 45, 50, and cuts it back into Ole Miss territory at the 45-yard line. There's Ken Lucas Mack to make the tackle.
Ole Miss tried to get Ken Lucas down the field on a post pattern. Watch Larry Morrow. Perfect coverage, gets turned around, but then the ball's thrown too far down the football field. And here's where there's some good blocks. Thomas Maxwell, number 9, and then Larry Moore returns it to the 45-yard line. This team believes they can win, Jerry. Marshall football team's been in a lot of playoff games in Division I AA, and it's helped them in this football game.
Well, 10-2 on the year. 5 in a row they've won since their loss at Miami on October 18th. They lead here by 3 points. They give the ball to Chapman. Big opening right side. Cuts it back. And he will be inside the 30 and still on his feet. They will mark his forward progress down about the 30-yard line. Gain of 14.
What makes this play work is Chad Pennington's doing a good job of reading that box. He's reading that he gets a double here and he gets a block here. This linebacker and this linebacker have to make the play. They don't make it on Doug Chapman.
All right, 1st and 10. Marshall driving once again. The fake. Reversing is still wide open is Colclough, and he can't quite get to the football.
They had 6 there.
Bottom of your screen, Moss. All alone. 2 wide receivers top, and Pennington decides to call a timeout.
How'd you know? Just come on, put it on, all right? You knew my size and everything. It looks good, thank you. It feels good. Thanks. Happy holidays, man. Cool.
Back at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, Dave Ryan, Mike Godfrey, and yours truly, Jerry Pudge, bringing you live action, the inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. Low Turner, the lone setback. 2nd and 10, and they will give the ball to Turner, and he will get a yard at most. Morris Scott meets him at the line of scrimmage.
They had Randy Moss, Marshall, on the last play. They put him in a slot formation to now try to get him against a linebacker or a safety. Trying to find spots where they can get him off the line of scrimmage. Here he's against the linebacker, Walker Jones. Now the safety comes up late, Timothy Strickland. Working him against safeties now. Let's see if they go to it.
All right, 3rd and 9. Marshall 0 for 4 on 3rd down conversions. That one's going to be very, very close. They had to get to the 20-yard line, and will depend on the mark. And they say, indeed, it's a 1st down. Gerald Long makes the reception as we check in on the sidelines with Dave Ryan. Dave?
Well, guys, Marshall certainly is no stranger to success. The Herd has won more games than any other college football program, 1A or 1AA, in the 90s, including Nebraska, Florida, Ohio State, Michigan, anyone. Marshall has won 2 1A national titles in the last year in 1992, 1AA, and 4 times in the last 10 years, has finished 2nd. Guys, this program knows very well what it's like to play big games under pressure.
Oh, indeed, is that pass intended for Moss in the end zone. Bob Bobby Pruitt becomes the first coach in the history of college football to lead his team to a perfect record at a national championship in his first year. Last year, they were 15-0. 8-0 in the Southern Conference for a 1AA national title.
When I was talking to him before the game, he said, you know, I've only lost 3 games in the last 4 years, but he said people forget. You know, I spent some years in some programs that were down a little bit, so he said, I took my whippings along the way. So Bob Pruitt's done a very good job here at Marshall.
Previously a defensive coordinator under Steve Spurrier at the University of Florida. Saw a few passing plays at that game. Another one, touchdown for Marshall, LV Lavorne Colclough, the junior from Glenard, Maryland. 19-yard reception, and adds 6 more for the Thundering Herd.
Say, Jerry, Ole Miss went flat after that first score, and they haven't been able to get it back since. Chad Pennington, good play fake to Doug Chapman, comes out to the right side. You see the wide open LV Colclough. They are taking it to Ole Miss.
And he had about 4 steps on the cornerback as Billy Malashevich will kick the extra point up and good. And just that quickly, Marshall is up 17-7. With still 9 minutes and 4 seconds remaining in the first half. ESPN continues its bowl week coverage on Sunday at 8 when the 15th-ranked Tigers of LSU and the Fighting Irish meet for the 2nd time this season in the Poland Win-Eater Independence Bowl. Tune in to ESPN Sunday for all the bowl week excitement. There's LV Lavorne Colclough. 19-yard reception to put Marshall up by 10 over Ole Miss.
You're going to see LV on the route now, and you see the safety moving to try to help. Malika Griffin, number 34, gets on the hip and gets behind LV Colclough for the touchdown.
All right, Colclough, 5 receptions, 49 yards, and a touchdown. As they kick the ball finally to John Avery. He's dangerous. 30-yard line, and they just got a hand on him to trip him up at about the 33.
The motivation in this football game, Marshall wants to prove that they can play with the Southeastern Conference. So their fans, they've had many travel here, believe they can play with them.
There's the Marshall scoring drive. 6 plays, 44 yards, 1 minute and 50 seconds. Colclough, 19-yard touchdown reception. And meanwhile, on the Ole Miss sideline, there is Nate Wayne, the emotional leader, number 38 of that defense, trying to get the Rebels charged up to try to do something to hold this Marshall offense in check.
There's a flag on the field now. It came in late.
Well, Randy Moss is undoubtedly Marshall's most publicized player.
Illegal substitution. Player going off the wrong sideline. 5-yard penalty. First down and 5.
All right. Player ran off on the Ole Miss sideline as you look at Nate Wayne.
That's exactly what he's saying, Jerry. We're being embarrassed right now.
Randy Moss is undoubtedly Marshall's most publicized player, but as Chad Pennington told us, you cannot overlook the importance of LV Lavorne Colclough.
LV is probably the key to our offense. Randy is great for us, and he does a lot of good things, but if we didn't have Lavorne Colclough, our offense wouldn't click as much, because when they do take Randy from us, LV is making big plays, and so he's very crucial to our success.
Oh, indeed, and here's a guy who's crucial to Ole Miss's success, John Avery. He scampers up over the 40.
John Avery, they need to get him loose in the secondaries. 55 yards on the first pass play. They've only had 77 yards in the last 5 possessions. They need to run the football with John Avery. Marshall's done a good job taking it away. 60 yards so far.
Oh, and here's Avery's averaging almost 100 a football game. I formation. Avery once again, and he will be brought down in the backfield. A great effort by guess who? B.J. Cohen, the captain and first team All-Mid-American Conference defensive end.
And he's had a outstanding first half. 6'3", 240 pounds, great quickness, 83 tackles, sacks 14, leads the ball club, and he's able to get upfield, beat the tackle. Devon Coburn again to make the play in the backfield. Forced this third down play.
All right, a loss of 5 yards on that play. Shotgun, Patrick's looking upfield, trying to find a receiver, has Peterson, and he will be stood up. Correction, that's Sheldon Morris, the sophomore, split in, and he will be about 4 yards shy of the first.
Even the routes, Jerry, are off. I mean, they had 9 yards to go, and they throw a 5-yard route. Sheldon Morris came back. Nothing was open for Stuart Patridge. Plenty of time. He's got good protection, but no receiver could shake loose.
Looked like Patridge was looking downfield for someone who was past the first down marker, and all his receivers were so shallow, he had to hit someone inside, and that cost them a possession. They will kick it away. Now, the fake punt downfield, and there is no flag from the official.
Boy, that's a gamble right there, and you know what you look for there, because they figure that the Marshall players are running with their back to the receiver, and they're bumping the receiver all the way down the field. You're looking for pass interference, and they're not going to get it. Ole Miss, everybody steps inside. Now, all of a sudden, here's the back turn, so he doesn't know if it's a punt or not. That ball's thrown up there now. You're looking for pass interference on Sheldon Morris. Don't get it. Now your defense has to play.
Oh, boy, now you're down by...
What a gamble.
Well, sometimes the gambles pay off, sometimes they don't. 6 minutes, 46 seconds in the first half. Ole Miss down by 10. And that will give the Thundering Herd possession in Ole Miss territory.
Jerry, when you make that gamble, you're telling your defense, partners, we're getting about ready to get blown out of here. You need to make a stop on this play. Tommy Tuberville understands it's 3 particles, that you've got to have your special teams, offense and defense. His offense is going to sleep. So he's trying to jolt this football team by making that play. Now his defense needs to keep them in the ball game.
You heard Nate Wayne trying to charge up that defense for Ole Miss. Pennington looking left toward Moss. The defender falls down, and so does Moss. Gary Thigpen, the junior right cornerback, stumbled and fell, and he may have tripped up Randy Moss, who fell about a yard or so later.
That's exactly what happened, Jerry. Gary Thigpen fell down, and his foot came up in the air and tripped Randy Moss. Chad Pennington getting a little pressure there. Thigpen goes down, trips over, and Moss trips over him. Big third down play for Ole Miss defense here. Big third down play.
After the missed opportunity on the fake punt, Ole Miss trying to hold on, down by 10. 3rd and 8 for the Thundering Herd. Pressure from the inside. And Pennington had to get rid of it, or else he was going down.
But Ole Miss has all of a sudden changed their defensive strategy. Art Kaufman, he sat back long enough and watched Chad Pennington pick him apart like a chicken. He's putting a lot of pressure on now. Here's the blitz coming right here. Spearman, number 4, coming on the blitz. They're bringing Walker Jones, number 29, getting to Chad Pennington so he can't find a receiver. That was big on that defensive stand by Ole Miss.
Well, indeed, a defensive stop by Ole Miss.
Sometimes you need to make a play like Tommy Tuberville did. He took a chance with the fake punt. It may have woken this football team up.
All right, the pooch kick by Hanson. It'll hit at about the goal line and tumble in. He couldn't quite get it short enough to get his players downfield. And Ole Miss will take over on their own 20-yard line. Less than 6 minutes remaining here in the first half. Marshall up by 10. In Pontiac, Michigan, the inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. Randy Moss, possibly his last game as a collegiate, trying to lead the MAC champion Thundering Herd of Marshall in a victory over Ole Miss. 1st and 10 for Mississippi. They're 20-yard line. The inside handoff to Avery, and he is being chased out of bounds at about the 23. Looking at John Avery, we had Ole Miss against Arkansas in one of our Thursday night primetime games, Coach, and the Ole Miss offense that night was sputtering as well. They were deep in their own territory. John Avery looked to the sidelines and signaled the coaches he wanted them to call a play that he wanted to run. Noel Mazzoni, the offensive coordinator, said, well, my plays aren't working. Why not run what he wants to run? The result, 97 yards. Avery goes for a touchdown, and the Ole Miss offense was ignited. 2nd and 6. Line of scrimmage at 24-yard line. Again, the inside handoff, and this time, nothing doing. He will lose a couple. Back to about the 21.
Jerry, in the old days, players used to make all the calls on the field, and Paul Brown, the great coach of Cleveland Browns, started sending in guards with plays, and ever since then, coaches have taken the play calling away from the quarterbacks and make them from the press box above to the coach on the field to the field. And sometimes players get a feel of what can work, but a lot of coaches feel like they're not going to put their future in the hands of a 21-year-old quarterback.
All right, Grant Hurd, the sophomore, split in, bottom of your screen, back in the ballgame after being injured early in the first quarter. 3rd and 9. The ball tipped from Stuart Patridge, and that will bring up a 4th down situation. Ole Miss 0 for 6. Now make it 0 for 7 on 3rd down conversion.
Well, they're putting a lot of pressure on their defense, too, 3 and out. And they're going to give their defense bad field position again. But 2 draws and pressure on Stuart Patridge, the quarterback. Marshall defensively has been able to hang in there.
All right, Randall Green back to kick. A high end spiral down at the 23-yard line. Randy Moss is thrown to the ground at about the 27-28. Robert Reed, the H-back there, and a flag comes down. I believe he may have gotten a handful of face masks. All right, join ABC Sports New Year's Day at 1 o'clock when Coach Joe Paterno and the 12th-ranked Nittany Lions battle the 8th-ranked Gators of Florida in the Comp USA Florida Citrus Bowl. That's Thursday, New Year's Day, on ABC Sports. Well, that should be a good one there. Florida and Penn State.
15 yards from the end of the run.
Well, they are going to call a flagrant face mask penalty, which is 15 yards. He stepped off against Ole Miss. On that tackle on Randy Moss.
He had it all.
Well, ordinarily, if you grab it and let go, it's a 5-yard penalty. If you grab it and pull him down, that's the flagrant part. That's indeed what happened. 15 yards. It'll cost Ole Miss. Okay, Chapman, the reception, 50. A pretty good block outside to spring Chapman. Mitch Baker finally brings him down, but not until they gain 13 yards.
Well, Mike Gilliam, the offensive tackle on the left side, is going to get out in front of this quick screen to Doug Chapman. Block the tight end, blocks the linebacker. He takes the linebacker right here. Now 63, Mike Gilliam gets out in front. He's going to make a block on the corner. Number 30, Gary Thigpen. Good yardage for Doug Chapman.
About 140-pound weight advantage over Thigpen. First down for Marshall, a thundering herd in Ole Miss territory. Under 5 minutes to play here in the first half. 10-point lead for Marshall. The give to Chapman. Down to the 40 and inside. He falls forward to about the 39.
I'm impressed with Chad Pennington because he's making the right decisions at the line of scrimmage. Again, he runs Doug Chapman inside to the left side, and they're able to take advantage of that John Wade, Bert Scarborough double team, and there's the move right there, and he's able to get Chapman through for about a 5-yard gain.
Boy, Bert Scarborough walled off the inside. The linebacker who couldn't get there. Great opening for Chapman. 2nd and 5 for Marshall. Lone setback, Chapman. Pennington lost one downfield toward LV, Lavorne Colecloth. And he can't get there.
To go back to what we were talking about earlier, the coaches have taken the out of the hands the play calling of the quarterback, but now they've given it back to him in some ways because they'll give him a runner pass. Chad Pennington goes to the line of scrimmage with a lot of time on the clock. Then he can make that call of what he wants to do, either run or pass. His offensive line, receivers, and running back wait for the call at the line of scrimmage.
And as smart as Pennington is, Tim Nunez told us that Pennington will check at least 70% of the time the plays at the line of scrimmage. They loft one deep for Randy Moss, and Moss was so far behind Thigpen. Thigpen tried to tackle him but couldn't catch him.
Yeah, he had him beat. They just couldn't get the football to him. Chad Pennington talking about how smart he is football-wise. He's a 3.7 grade point average, but he's going to get Randy Moss way in front. Watch Gary Thigpen. Knows he's beat. He tries to reach out and grab Randy Moss, but even couldn't make it.
Had he been able to catch him and grab him right here when he dives for him, it would have been defensive interference, but he missed him. Low line drive kick to about the 7-yard line. Andre Roan, and he will get maybe 3 up over the 10.
Big here, now 3:12 on the clock, but Ole Miss has 2 timeouts left. See if Stuart Patridge gets him in a 2-minute style of play.
All right, you're Tommy Tuberville. The running game isn't going. You've tried to give the ball inside of your go-to guy, John Avery, a couple times. He's been sort of stacked up behind the line of scrimmage. What do you do?
I think you have to throw the ball. They're very good at throwing crossing routes. That's what's got them here. They're able to throw the ball to Andre Roan. And, of course, we don't know whether Grant Hurd is totally healthy in this ball game. But they need to get the ball to those wide receivers and John Avery out of the backfield.
3 wide receivers and the slot back. Stuart Patridge near his own end zone, throws it upfield, and Corey Peterson will make the catch up over the 20-yard line.
Jerry, you practice this all the time. We're late in the season. It's December, and you should be able, 2-minute-wise, know what you want to do in this situation. Basketball being played in Puerto Rico. I have a nephew who coaches at Murray State.
Congratulations, by the way.
Very proud of him. Knocked off Arkansas and Iowa State both. It's good for Murray State.
Well, Arkansas's had a tough visit to Puerto Rico. They give the ball to Avery, and he will have the first down up near the 25, but that won't keep the clock. They will stop the clock momentarily to move the chains for the first down. B.J. Cohen to make the stop.
I've been impressed with this bowl game. Now, George Perlis done a great job. Ford's behind this game. Ross Roberts, who's one of the key executives, Ken Huffman. They have done a nice job here. Both teams have enjoyed themselves. It's a bowl up north. I think it's needed. Teams went to Canada. They visited the Ford Museum. They've done a lot of nice things here. This bowl game is going to catch on and be big.
Indeed. Very first year for the inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. All right, they're going to reset the game clock. There is Tommy Tuberville, 33rd head coach at the University of Mississippi, was named head coach December 2nd, 1994. First Rebel coach since Ken Cooper in the mid-70s to have winning seasons in 2 of his first 3 years at Ole Miss. Avery, the left side, great block up front. He will cut it outside, accelerates, and be up near the 34, maybe close to another first down.
He showed the acceleration, but you have to be impressed with the way the safeties from Marshall, Thomas Maxwell, and Robert Beckett are forcing up those lanes and making hits on the running game. They have to find, Ole Miss has to find a way to control those safeties. They tried to throw deep throw in the last series and got it picked off 2 series ago, but they have to hit a post behind these safeties. They've got to control them a little bit better.
All right, 2nd and short for Ole Miss. Make it a yard, line of scrimmage, their own 34-yard line. 2 minutes 48 to play in the first half. The Thundering Herd, Mid-American Conference champions, up by 10 over the SEC. And that pass intended for Robert Reed, incomplete. As we check in back in the studio with Chris Fowler. Chris?
Well, Jerry, thank you. Coming up at halftime, we'll preview tomorrow night's Insight.com Bowl, little neighborly feud, Arizona and New Mexico. Also a report on the Rose Bowl. The #1 team in the country, Michigan, has arrived out in California. And NBA highlights, including the Heat versus the Pistons. Lee Corso and Kirk Herbstreit join me coming up at the break.
All right, Chris, Lee, and Kirk at halftime, previewing some of the bowl games coming up. What a way to kick off our National Car Rental Bowl week with the inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. John Avery looking for room to run. He will dance his way forward for about 5.
A lot of time, Jerry, again, 2:38. Every time you get the first down, you stop that clock, and they still have 2 timeouts. A lot of time, no auto. Grant Hurd goes to the sideline again. I don't know if he's 100%. He took as Dave Ryan said, took a hit on that opening play.
That'll bring Sheldon Morris back in. He is the backup to Hurd. Morris, a former walk-on out of Jacksonville, Florida. Across the middle, complete for a gain of about 6. That is Robert Reed, and a penalty on the play.
It has to be a face mask. It looks like on Thomas Maxwell, number 9. Well, he came right up and hit, and that's what I said earlier. They haven't been able to control the safeties. That's Thomas Maxwell making that hit on that play.
Robert Reed, who made the reception, the former quarterback that transferred from Arkansas.
Defense. 5 yards, end of the run.
Robert Reed might be the best athlete on this Ole Miss team.
In a first down.
Played football at Arkansas, was on the Final Four basketball team, and when you talk to the coaches at Ole Miss, they say he's by far the best athlete on the ball club. There's the tackle by Thomas Maxwell.
With the face mask penalty. Best offensive drive just early in the first quarter for the Rebels of Ole Miss. They are now in Marshall territory. Patrick looks short as Avery dancing around 45, but there are 3 thundering Hurd defenders there to corral him at about the 44-yard line. And now apparently Ole Miss will indeed use a timeout to try to save some time on the clock.
Jerry, what Marshall's done to Ole Miss in this ball game is since that first score is they've been able to punt them into the end zone, the 20-yard line, start at the 15, and they've made Ole Miss go the length of the field. And the one time that Ole Miss had a drive going, they got a holding penalty and it took them out of the score. And this is the same type of drive. They started way back on the 10, and they figure, Marshall's figuring they're going to make a mistake somewhere along the line.
Well, the initial catch by Grant Hurd, 54 yards to set up the Ole Miss touchdown, but then he limped off the field injured. Maybe we can get an update on Hurd's injury from Dave Ryan. Dave?
Well, guys, to answer your question about Hurd a few moments ago, I talked with Tim Mones, the head football trainer at Ole Miss. He is still being bothered by a deep right knee bruise. He's not able to get a lot of movement out there in the field. They are going with him in the lineup, but he's not close to 100%. You can see he's trying to explode through his pass route off the line of scrimmage. He just doesn't have that speed he did on the initial play of the game to have that big gainer and good Ole Miss in good field position for their touchdown early on.
Boy, they certainly need him. His height at 6'3½", 200-pounder out of Lake Jackson, Texas. Tommy Tuberville, a lot of thinking going on about what will happen here and what could happen at halftime.
Jerry, I said it again, they've got to control the safeties. And one way you control the safeties is with your tight end. Rufus French, who's a great tight end. Jerry DiNardo says he's the best tight end in the country, number 9. He has been silent in this first half. They need to find a way to get him the football.
All right, motion by Reed, bottom of your screen. 2nd and 5, rush from Patridge. He gets Avery. He will cut outside, has some running room, and runs out of bounds at about the 35-yard line.
Well, John Avery did a great job of setting up his block. This could have been tackled for no gain. John Avery's going to come out on the screen. Now he catches the football. Now Marshall player has a bead on him, but he's going to pull up and stop to set the block up. Now he breaks outside. What a great move and a great block by Boyd Kitchen.
Oh, indeed. And what about composure by Stuart Patridge, as Larry Moore was about a step and a half away when he released the football. Patridge back to throw once again, looking toward the end zone, and a collision down there Was that Robert Reed? That was Rufus French, a tight end.
Tried to go to Rufus French. A lot of contact both ways. Downfield on the receivers, and the defensive backs are getting away with it in this ball game tonight. But Rufus French was jammed on that play. Couldn't even release down the field. And he was 10 yards down when he was jammed.
All right, 2nd and 10. They might have heard you, Coach. You're trying to get Rufus French involved in the offense.
Yeah, he has to be involved. Too good a receiver. Leads the team in receptions.
All right, Patrick has a receiver and almost gets it picked off. John Grace, the weak side linebacker, set right in front of the intended receiver and just couldn't quite hold on to the football.
Well, now they did this. They moved Rufus French to the tight end side to give protection. They feel like the quarterback, Stuart Patridge, hasn't had enough time, so now they keep the tight end in. Throw to the 3 receiver side, it's almost interception. I'm a firm believer, and you have to make somebody pay when they drop an interception. Let's see if Stuart Patridge makes Marshall pay for that missed interception.
All right, Patridge, 10 of 19, 123 yards, and 1 interception. Has a receiver left side, great catch at about the 24-yard line. That is Corey Peterson, the sophomore flanker from Germantown, Tennessee.
And that's been there. Corey Peterson on the out route has been there for him on the outside. Real close to have the measurement here. Stuart Patridge looking to his left, and he comes back to the out receiver. Corey Peterson on the out. Now he should know where those sticks are. Let's see if he was able to go by them and make this first down.
Of course, in college, you only have to get 1 foot down, as opposed to usually the teams that play on this field. On Sunday, they have to get both feet in bounds. In the NFL, that'll be Ole Miss first down, so the drive continues. 1:25 seconds remaining here in the first half.
Still 1 timeout by Ole Miss. They need a score badly to get back in this ball game. Their ball club has offensively napped through this first half.
You know, Ole Miss has struggled throughout the year in the 2nd and 3rd quarters. They have been outscored by their opponents in both the 2nd and 3rd quarters all year long. They have owned the 1st and 4th quarters. They've given up the middle part of the football game. And they need to get some points on the board here with less than a minute and a half remaining in the first half.
Trying to get a little more protection. Moves Rufus French in tight.
Looking left and has his intended receiver. That again is Corey Peterson. Right in front of Larry Moore.
Nice curl route by Peterson. Picked up 5 yards. Rufus French brought him inside. And there's the block. That's the reason they brought the tight end in the block. Made the check. Knew the pressure was going to come from the outside.
2nd down and about 5 to go. Drive continuing for the Rebels of Ole Miss. Pressure from outside. The pass complete for the first down. That's Peterson. He will cut it back inside the 5-yard line. Sheldon Morris, the sophomore, making the catch after a gain of 16.
That's what you don't want to happen if you're Bob Pruitt and Kevin Kelly, the defensive coordinator. You want to make the tackle, your man coverage. You want to make the tackle right when he makes the catch, not allowing the extra 8-9 yards down the field. 36 seconds to go and 1 timeout for Ole Miss.
And the clock is running as they will go with 2 tight ends, I formation. Eli Ending in motion, and flags all over the football field.
Now that penalty's on Ole Miss. That takes the run option out of this situation. I think they were in with 2 backs to run the football.
Prior to the snap, full start, offense, 5 yards, replay, first down.
Now, Jerry, you're in a situation with 22 seconds to go where you got to throw the ball in the end zone.
All right, Tommy Tuberville talking to Sheldon Morris, who made the reception. He will go ahead and take that final timeout and talk it over. Don't want to waste this opportunity here with just 22 seconds remaining in the first half.
Well, such a key situation. Tommy Tuberville believes he needs to bring his offensive team over to explain to them now what they have to do, because now by taking that time out, the run threat is gone. Marshall will substitute some extra defensive backs in the ball game.
Line of scrimmage now back at the 8-yard line with that 5-yard penalty for motion. So they talk it over. We'll check in on the sidelines with Dave Ryan.
Well, guys, this timeout comes at a very good time for the Marshall defense. They are exhausted right now. And something to keep in mind, they were playing in very cool conditions practicing down there in Huntington before they came up here to Pontiac, Michigan. They're not used to being in very warm conditions. It's actually quite hot down here on the sidelines. The Herd defense needed that break just to catch their breath. Some of the guys were doubled over trying to just relax and try to rest a bit. They need that.
That's a good point. And looking at their players now, you know, bending, when you start to see players bending over on the field, that timeout, you're right, by Tommy Tuberville may have helped Marshall.
Well, to steal a line from the song, the weather outside is frightful, but it is absolutely delightful here inside the Silverdome. It's about 75+ degrees.
Yeah, I was looking for snow. Not in here. I mean, outside.
We get snow in here. We've got a great story.
We're not going to get any snow on this trip.
All right.
Cold, but no snow.
All right, 22 seconds to play here in the first half. Dave Ryan, Mike Godfrey, Jerry Punch, the inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. Impressive first half for the Thundering Herd of Marshall. There's a look at Ole Miss in the red zone, 73%. 23 touchdowns, 5 field goals. They turned it over 3 times. 8-yard line. 3 wide receivers. Patrick looking left, and great defensive play by Larry Moore, the left side cornerback.
Well, a lot of pushing by both Grant Herd, the injured receiver early in the ball game, and Larry Moore. Just a curl route at the goal line. That's the old play. Gene Stallings in Alabama used to run that a lot. Go to the sticks and curl. Exactly where you need the first down. That was go to the end zone where you score a touchdown and curl. And the ball be thrown, but good play by Larry Moore.
That pass a half a second earlier, it's a touchdown. It's a half a second later, it's a touchdown the other way.
Still think they got to get Rufus French involved against the linebacker. He's got some size.
All right, second and goal. Patrick's wide open, will tuck and run, and he is down to about the 2-yard line. But the clock is running, and they are out of timeouts.
They're not going to get a play off here.
Boy, a costly mistake by Stuart Patrick, the redshirt senior quarterback, and the time will run out in the first half. Oh my, a missed opportunity by Ole Miss. 87-yard drive to end the first half, and the Rebels of Ole Miss come up without a point.
All the leadership he had hoped for. One thing to watch in the second half, it looks like Tommy Tuberville is going to try to blitz Pennington, put more pressure on him, a lot more.
Oh my, a missed opportunity by Ole Miss. 87-yard drive to end the first half, and the Rebels of Ole Miss come up without a point.
Leadership he had hoped for. One thing to watch in the second half, it looks like Tommy Tuberville is going to try to blitz Pennington, put more pressure on him, a lot more than we saw in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, I would think, Jerry, they'd have to blitz Pennington. They had success when they blitzed Chad Pennington late in the second quarter, but when they allowed him the 4-man rush and zone coverage, he picked them very well the first quarter and early in the second quarter.
All right, Steve Lindsay to kick it off in the second half. Maurice Hines and Nathan Poole are deep. A high end-over-end kick in the end zone, and Poole will kneel down there. The Thundering Herd will start at their own 20-yard line. We take a look at the first half statistics. Somewhat deceiving in the fact that things were very, very close early in the football game, 7-7.
Yeah, I mean, when big play offensive football teams, I think the biggest thing when you look at rushing yardage for Ole Miss, that's John Avery, 72 yards. They still need to get the ball in his hands, but also the tight end, Rufus French, has not had a catch in this ball game, and he leads the Ole Miss team for the season in receptions.
All right, we'll see if Marshall can begin the second half the way they began the first on the opening play. The toss, the screen to the receiver. He's up over the 30-yard line. That is Gerald Long, the slot back.
That just a little quick screen to the outside. You expect your other receiver, Randy Moss, is the other receiver. There's Gerald Long getting the pass, and then you expect your other receiver to block the corner. That's Randy Moss, 88, using his frame to block on Ole Miss's Timothy Strickland. Jerry, I'm a firm believer in this first 5 minutes for Ole Miss. They've got to make something happen.
All right, second and short for the Thundering Herd. Pennington looking back and can't quite get there. Intended for Doug Chapman, the tailback. And he was covered very closely by Gary Thigpen.
Penalty on Marshall. But talked about the 5 minutes. Tommy Tuberville, I'm sure at halftime, challenged his football team. He said, you know, we beat Mississippi State, but we do not want to end the season with a loss in this bowl game. Sometimes you can be so happy with your last win, the 15-14 win over Mississippi State and the rivals, that you fall asleep a little bit, but I think he's going to challenge his football team, and I'm anxious to see how they play this first 5 minutes.
Well, they've had some huge wins this season. The big win in Baton Rouge over LSU. After a week after LSU had upset top-ranked Florida. A 36-21 win over the Tigers.
Distance to the goal from the spot of the foul. Replay second down.
Well, big penalty here because the spot of the foul takes it all the way back to the 10-yard line. 10-yard line, right.
Come over and explain to Bobby Pruitt. The spot foul will back up the Thundering Herd on their own 10-yard line. What was second and about 3 is now second and long. Pennington back to pass, plenty of time. Coleslaw at the 15. Strickland there will ride him down at about the 19-yard line.
What you want to do when you have second and 20, you want to pick up half of it. You'd obviously like to pick it all up, but you like to get at least where you're third and 10, third and 11, but they're going to be third and 13 here. But remember, this is a big play offensive football team. Randy Moss to date has had 2 catches.
You hate to say anything's this big a play when you just started the second half, as you said.
It's big because Ole Miss needs to stop them. They need to get their offense. They need to get a little fire in their belly. And they need to come out here and play a little tougher here in the second half.
And this would be a field position stop for Ole Miss. They would get the ball in pretty good shape. 3rd and 12. Pennington looking upfield. It is nearly picked off right in the hands of Brock Price, the senior All-SEC second-team weak side linebacker.
Well, Dave Ryan said that Tommy Tuberville said he's going to come out. He's tired of watching Chad Pennington pick him. So they're going to blitz him. And here comes the blitz of the linebacker, Nate Ween, 38. And he got to the quarterback, number 14. Brock Kreitz had the interception, dropped the football. Still a good series for Ole Miss. They need a return here. Need to get their offense going a little bit, Jerry.
All right, Andre Roan, the senior halfback from Daytona Beach, Florida, Seabreeze High School. Averaging 7.8 yards a return. And Hansen will get it off. Pretty good kick by Hansen. Roan will get it at the 39-yard line. 40, 45. Gets to the sidelines. He'll have running room. And he is down at about the 37, but there is a penalty. A 42-yard punt, 23-yard return by Roan, but that may be negated by a penalty thrown about the 40-yard line.
Mistakes by Ole Miss.
Going to have a block in the back, and that'll bring it back.
Well, it's a spot foul, and if they correct it, it's like at the 39-yard line. No, they're calling it on Marshall. Well,
R.G. Detellier, the referee out of the Big East, the officials in the Big East here, talking it over.
On the return, we have an illegal block in the back against the kickers. 10 yards from the end of the run. First down.
You don't hardly ever see that now, and that call. But I guess kick team blocking in the back.
Well, the last time Ole Miss down here in the territory at the end of the first half, they came up empty. They had driven 86 yards, and
they used their timeout. Tommy Tuberville wanted to use that set something up, but without any timeouts, Stuart Patridge decided to run the football, and it ended on the 2-yard line.
All right, the backs, Eli Ending in motion. They will give it to Avery, near side, and he'll be chased out of bounds, but not before he gained about 4.5 for 5 yards.
Now you look for the adjustments, Jerry. But they talked over at halftime. They had a long halftime here, 25 minutes. The Contours, yeah, we're singing here. And do you know what one of their best records were? They were the Motown group in the 60s.
That was a theme song from Dirty Dancing.
Do You Love Me? Yeah,
all right.
Pretty good. Now, Ron Franklin knows all his music, so I know he's watching somewhere. He's pulling Ole Miss, likes this Marshall football team. He's talked about Marshall all year.
Two great football teams. A perfect matchup to kick off what should be a long history to this Ford Motor City Bowl here in the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. 2nd and 6. Ole Miss. Patridge rolling left, being chased, will toss the ball toward the fullback, Eli Ending, and it is incomplete. We talked about the end of the first half. Stuart Patridge had driven the Ole Miss team 86 yards, trying to get some points, and as the clock runs down, he tucks it and runs. They're out of timeouts. There's 12 seconds on the clock. The clock runs down. They cannot get in position to stop the clock, and the half ends, and Ole Miss comes up empty.
Well, they have as big a play right now as they had just before halftime. They need to keep this drive moving.
All right, still no score in the second half. 3rd and 6. Ole Miss, University of Mississippi, on the Marshall 25-yard line. Patridge looking upfield, has a receiver, and he is right at the first down marker. The Ole Miss players signaling first down. We'll wait for the officials to spot the ball. They had to get to the 19-yard line.
The impressive part, that's finally Rufus French, his first catch. But the impressive part has been the secondary of Marshall. They punished this Ole Miss receiving corps. Rufus French came into the game here with 43 catches for 345 yards. He leads Ole Miss in receptions, and that's the way you control linebackers and safeties. They run the running back, Deuce McAllister down the field, and then hit Rufus French underneath.
All right, French, the 3rd-team All-American tight end, finally getting on track. Patridge looking downfield, and pass intended for Andre Rome. Thomas Maxwell, the rover there in the protection.
Boy, good again. When you look back on this tape, if Marshall holds on and wins this football game, Thomas Maxwell and Roger Beckett have made plays on John Avery in the running game, and they've made plays in the passing game.
Opening possession of the second half for the University of Mississippi. After holding Marshall, they have the ball in Marshall territory on the 19-yard line. 2nd and 10. John Avery, and he will need it. If he cuts it back, he may have a crease, and he makes something out of nothing.
Well, he did. That's his ability to cut with the football, moving full speed, cutting back against the flow of the linebackers. There was nothing outside here, so he's trying to skate outside. Now he stops right here. Now he works back, finds a little crease, picks up some valuable yardage, and makes it a 3rd and 5 situation. But they've done a nice job. Marshall's defense, the coordinator, Kevin Kelly, has had a nice plan to try to slow John Avery down.
John Avery told us last night he wanted to not spend so much time looking for an opening. He wanted to get through the opening and try to get in the secondary because of all the team speed Marshall had up front. 3rd and 4. Patridge over the middle. Receiver wide open, 5-yard line. Andre Rome. And there is a penalty back at about the 22-yard line.
It's got to be a late hit because that's the only thing it possibly could be. And if it is, it's on John Grace, number 4.
Well, the referee began waving his hands and running toward the end zone. We'll see what the call is.
We have a personal foul. Roughing the quarterback. Defense. Touchdown. Penalty review.
Well, you talked about the first 5 minutes now. There's 11:46 on the clock. Ole Miss stopped them on defense. Bad snap to Stuart Patridge. Hits Andre Roan over the middle. Gets a block from Grant Hurd, number 88, gets in the end zone. Now John Grace, number 4, is going to come on a blitz. Oh, yeah, clearly a late hit on Stuart Patridge.
All right, the 13-yard reception. Patridge to Roan. And with the conversion, if Lindsey can kick it through, there's Patridge as he very gingerly came off the field a moment ago after that late hit. Seems to be none the worse for wear. As Tommy Tuberville, you heard Dave Ryan talk about the fact that he challenged his team at halftime.
You have to. You've got to give him a wake-up call. And Tommy Tuberville looked like he gave him a wake-up call at halftime.
Well, the kick is up and good. So, with 11 minutes and 46 seconds remaining here in the third quarter, we have a 3-point football game. Now from midfield, and that opens up the possibility, Coach.
Onside kick, the pooch kick, or you can just let him kick it out of the end zone and start at the 20. But he gives you some options right here.
All right, Steve Lindsey, 15-yard penalty, personal foul against Marshall on the conversion. He will kick it away. It goes halfway to Romulus.
Ernie Harwell used to do that. Used to listen to the Detroit Tiger games. He's one of the best of all time, and he used to say somebody's making a catch, and they'd catch a foul ball, and he said he's from Romulus. And I used to think, how do you know he's from Romulus?
There's a look at Girardi Mercer. He's the sophomore defensive tackle from Washington, D.C.
And Bob Pruitt's going to tell him a little bit about that personal foul. The 15-yard penalty on holding there.
Discussion on the sidelines. Thundering Herd, 1st and 10, their own 20-yard line. 3-point football game. Chapman gets it off right side. Huge hole, and he will have enough for another first down. Gain of 11.
Well, they're running the ball against this Ole Miss defense. Had success, but again, Doug Chapman's doing a nice job. The offensive line's doing a nice job, but Chad Pennington is making this call. Here again, he's got a little different blocking scheme here now. Blocked down and around by the guard. Number 52, Brian Reed. Jamie Rogers down. In a little scheme they changed at halftime, and a nice little adjustment against Ole Miss.
Great block by Jamie Rogers, the junior college transfer from Merced, California. Right tackle. Once again, Chapman cuts inside, cuts outside, and we are seeing a display put on tonight of two of the best running backs in the country.
Yeah, I think Doug Chapman now, a lot of people don't know much about him. He rushed for 115 yards and a touchdown in the MAC championship game. He scored 10 touchdowns this year. He averages 5.8 yards per carries. And when he takes this handoff, he scoots to the outside here. Again, a good block by the guard. Jamie Rogers down inside. Now there's a nice little move, and he picks up the block of Jamie Rogers, 78, the outside. Same thing John Avery does on the other side.
Chapman averaging 7.6 yards a carry, 11 carries for 84 yards here just early in the third quarter. Low Turner in the spell Chapman, and they will throw the ball this side, intended for Nathan Poole.
Jerry, what that's going to do with Chapman opening up the running game and Chad Pennington doing such a good job in there, eventually you're going to go back to 88 now, Randy Moss, because now if you can't hold up in the running game, then you got to move that linebacker a little closer to helping stopping the run, which is going to mean those secondary guys are going to be all along with Randy Moss. Third and short here, they got to pick up the first down first.
Down conversions.
1 of 8. Marshall.
All right, Low Turner, the lone setback. Doug Chapman, rather, he will get the football, and he is brought down, dragged down behind the line of scrimmage on 3rd and short. He will lose about a yard and a half. Mitch Baker dives through to make the stop.
Put an asterisk beside that play right there, because when you stop this Marshall offensive football team on a 3rd and 1 yard, Mitch Baker, and give your offense another chance for this football. Mitch Baker just takes on the block and scoots to the right and makes that tackle on Doug Chapman.
Baker, the transfer from the University of Tennessee, moved over from a defensive end to defensive tackle. There's Chris Hansen, who will kick it away. Andre Roan shot, a high spiral, and Rome will take it at his 22. Cut back to the 25, 27, and that's where Ole Miss will start. The Classic Sports Network rings in the new year with a marathon of great games, all of which end with spectacular celebrations. The party starts at 8 a.m. on New Year's Day. If you don't have Classic Sports, call your local cable operator or satellite provider. The celebration games.
Marshall offense trying to regroup a little bit. And stung in their first 2 series. Coach is what he's doing, Jerry, is asking the offensive linemen where they're lined up at and why they're having the problem they're having.
Inside handoff to Avery, and he is corralled after about a yard. Roddy Mercer maybe trying to make up for that 15-yard penalty that he cost his football team. Very active to stay right with John Avery. Football games are won and lost with momentum and field position. Field position the first half predominantly owned by Thundering Herd of Marshall. Thus far in the second half, early on the first possession, good position for Ole Miss, and now Avery trying to find running room, and great pursuit on the left side for Marshall.
He's done a nice job. The linebackers and safeties again. John Grace made that play. Number 4. Ole Miss coach, running back coach Eddie Grant said that John Grace concerns the staff of Ole Miss, the offensive staff, because he's so active on defense. Fast and very athletic off the corner.
Why don't we check in quickly with Dave Ryan? Dave?
Because Larry Moore, starting quarterback for Marshall, is injured right now. He says a moment ago, he told me he's absolutely exhausted. He's getting some oxygen. It's very hot, and he's tired at the moment. Needs a breather. He should be able to come back in, though, soon.
All right, thanks, Dave. 3rd and 6. And wide open is Peterson. And that should be enough for the first down right in front of the cornerback, B.J. Summers.
You know, Dave Ryan mentioned in the first half on that long drive just before half that the Marshall players defensively looked like that they were tired out a little bit and then come out in the 3rd quarter and put the pressure right on them. And that's what you want to do as a coaching staff of Ole Miss. You want to turn up the heat on this defense a little bit by pressuring them all the time. Now they're in good field position, can open it up a little bit more.
Marshall, having played in the MAC championship game in a driving snowstorm back on December 5th, now playing indoors. Downfield receiver Avery, and Avery had just broken clear of the defender.
He was man-to-man with Larry McLeod, the linebacker, the outstanding middle linebacker for Marshall, 6'4", 232. And Stuart Patridge got what he wanted, the running back on the linebacker, just couldn't make the throw.
He just joined us 17-7 at the half in favor of the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Only scores thus far in the second half. A touchdown, a 13-yard pass to Andre Rome. For Ole Miss's only points, we have a 3-point football game. Patrick looks upfield, has a receiver wide open at the 45. That is Robert Reed, the redshirt junior from Brandon, Mississippi.
And no rush at all by Marshall. They're going to have to blitz some linebackers. Watch this front right here. Look at this rush right here. Not much of a rush. Not much of an effort, being stalemated. Giving Stuart Patridge time to find Robert Reed, the outstanding athlete. Todd Wade with a nice block there, number 71, to give Stuart Patridge some time.
And that was over in the area of the backup cornerback. Now Larry Moore is back in the football game. He'd been out for a blow. Patridge being chased, will throw it upfield. And did he make the catch? One official, as they will confer, one official signaled, the other one signaled no catch.
Flag down too on the other side.
And the referee will say no catch, and we'll hear exactly what possibly the penalty was.
Sometimes when the officials take 3 weeks off, it's a little slow getting started. Also when you get to a bowl game.
Well,
That'll cost him some yards. We can see there the faces of Noel Mazzoni, the offensive coordinator here, and Tommy Tuberville, the concern they have with this Marshall defense.
That's Grant Hurd standing to the right of Mazzoni. Is that receiver downfield against Ole Miss. Officials from the Big East Conference. R.G. Detellier.
Ineligible receiver, downfield offense, 5-yard penalty, replay, first down.
I don't know if that's not a bad trade for Ole Miss right there. 5 yards for a down back.
Well, as an offensive coach, you'd give that up in a heartbeat.
Yes. Especially with number 20, John Avery, back there. He can pick 5 up quickly.
As tired as this secondary seems to be for Marshall, you got to wonder if they wouldn't test him deep.
Got a shot, but I think you try to get the ball in John Avery's hands.
All right, Patridge back to pass. There is Avery. You called it, the screen. Got a great block, and he is inside the 35-yard line. Maybe right at the first down. Certainly about a half-a-yard shot.
Doc, when you got a horse, you got to ride him. And they got a horse. They got Avery. You got to ride him. A little screen to the right side. The linemen invite him block back. They chop. And now here's the pass. Good blocks downfield. And you mentioned the tired athletes. Number 4, John Grace, fell down. And what you see happen sometimes is when you get tired. Look at this Marshall defense. There's a measurement right now. If we could show the Marshall defense now, they're down on their knees.
We commented on the fact that they practice in Huntington, West Virginia. That's about 6 hours south of here, and the weather pretty chilly, unseasonably cool in December. As the measurement shows, they're about 3 inches shy. And you come here and you play in a dome.
Yeah, and it's stuffy in here. Believe me. Put this tie on. It's stuffy. But, Doc, you go back to that first down penalty. 5 yards, so you got first and 15. You'll trade that any time. You come back with a John Avery move. Now you're second and short here. Now here's the time where you might go downtown and use this as 4 down territory. Try to challenge him deep now if you feel like you got him wore out a little bit. Larry Moore's back on the field, number 11. It's a corner, but here's where you may try to go for the 6 points.
And the way those defensive linemen were kneeling during the measurement, you got to wonder how much rush they're going to be able to get on Patrick. Second down, the give once again to the horse. Up the middle, he cuts it back. And they just getting by the shoestring stop by Rogers. Beckett, the free safety, he saves a possible touchdown.
You know, we've seen some good running backs this year. John Avery is certainly one of the best. The best I've seen, though, I still go back to the diesel at LSU. That is as fine a running back as I've seen in the last 10 years of college football. And he got hurt against Vanderbilt, but he'll be back for LSU next year, the Diesel Collins. Cecil the Diesel.
Hard to beat Cecil the Diesel.
This guy's making a good run at it tonight, John Avery.
Again to Avery inside. He cuts it upfield. We talked at the top of the show about the comparisons that people were making for John Avery, about the Barry Sanders kind of running. And they said he didn't quite have the strength to run inside. He wanted to improve his running between the tackles. He cuts it outside a little more.
John Avery just went over 100, and you're right, Barry Sanders, he's accustomed to those same kind of performances here. But I think Ole Miss has this Marshall defense reeling a little bit, and I think they can run the football at him right now. They're wore down.
Avery, his 23rd carry of the night, and he will lose about 1.5 yards.
Good tackle there. Good tackle by Larry McLeod. You look for your big players to make big plays, and your middle linebacker, Larry McLeod, is just going to come in unblocked and makes that tackle on John Avery.
McLeod leading the team with tackles this year. First team all Mid-American Conference, one of the defensive tri-captains.
Jared, you were talking about the Marshall secondary. They got new secondary guys in there. They've got Jeremy Eastwood in as a safety, and then they've got Maurice Hines as in a corner. They need to rest their secondary guys. Let's see if Ole Miss can take advantage of that.
All right, 3rd and 6, wide open, Deuce McAllister, and he will score. 20 yards. Stuart Patridge to the true freshman, Deuce McAllister, and Ole Miss goes up by by 3.
Well, Deuce McAllister, when you look at your backup running back, Ole Miss beat Notre Dame on him in recruiting, and he's an outstanding inside runner. But Stuart Patridge made a good decision here to hit him on the flare and down the sideline for the touchdown. And Ole Miss has responded since coming out at halftime.
All right. The extra point is good by Steve Lindsey. And the true freshman from Morton, Mississippi, Deuce McAllister, senior class president, honor student, and Beta Club member at Morton High School, puts the Ole Miss Rebels up by 4 after the inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. It has been all Ole Miss. As the true freshman, Deuce McAllister takes it in, a 20-yard reception. Steve Lindsey set to kick it away. Maurice Hines and Nathan Poole deep for the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Low line drive kick will hit and bound at about the 15-yard line. Being chased back toward the end zone. Maurice Hines will finally kneel just before the defender gets there.
On a touchdown play, here's what you have. You've got 3 receivers to one side and a safety over the top. Now on the backside, that's a linebacker, John Grace, and he's got the running back. But watch as he starts to stop it, if you could right now. He went the wrong way. He went with the action and busted the coverage, and Deuce McAllister down the sideline for the touchdown.
Marshall, having started all 3 possessions this quarter on their own 20-yard line, once again deep in their own territory, and we're probably going to get a motion penalty, the defense, and possibly even a hold offensively. Indeed, Archie Detellier telling us he's going to call the offensive hold.
And Marshall has come out this second half, and penalties have just killed him. The offensive line owned Ole Miss's defense in the first half. In the second half, it's been a rejuvenated effort by the Rebels.
Holding. Offense. 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. Replay first down.
Well, after the second play of the game in which Ole Miss scored, the entire first half belonged to the Thundering Herd of Marshall. But the second half has belonged to Ole Miss.
You got to get Moss involved in this thing now, Jerry. They've had 4 penalties, 48 yards, but the game is slipping away a little bit. You got to get the ball to Moss.
All right, Randy Moss, top of your screen. And they will hand it again to Chapman inside, and he will get barely back to the line of scrimmage. Brock Watts, the weak side linebacker there to make the stop.
When you get backed up, and Chad Pennington making that little call there, but nothing's open. Brock Craig's a linebacker, but and it makes it tougher as you go second and long to try to get the ball to number 88, Randy Moss. But 2 catches to this point. One was a touchdown right off the bat. One was a screen pass caught behind the line of scrimmage for a loss. So far, Ole Miss has covered him like a blanket, but they need to get him involved here.
Again, they fake the inside handoff. They will have the pass. Oh, and he's right in the hands of Lavorne Coldclaw. And he makes that catch. He's got the first down and probably quite a bit more.
Boy, both teams come out just the opposite. Ole Miss comes out with fire, and all of a sudden Marshall comes out in the second half. They've got the lead. And they come out and just make mistake after mistake. L.B. Coldclaw wide open and just doesn't bring the ball in. And he's an outstanding receiver.
Well, it is 3rd and 19 yards. Line of scrimmage is the 11-yard line.
They didn't start the 25-second clock, so that's the hold up right here.
Marshall has to get up to the 30-yard line to get a first down.
Jerry, I'd just try to air it out with Moss. I mean, you've got 3rd and 19-yard line, or 3rd and 19 to go. How They've got him singled on the backside. They're going to hit the draw.
They try to draw. He will maybe get 2 yards, and that's all. And that will set up a punting situation as Johnny Jones, a left end, will drag down Doug Chapman.
Well, that's what you expected in the first half. The defensive ends, Johnny Jones, to have their way with the offensive tackles of Marshall, but it didn't happen in the first half. It's happened here early. Now Ole Miss needs to take advantage of this field position.
Standing on his own end zone in line, Chris Hansen will try to kick away to Andre Roan, who's standing back at the Ole Miss 45. Huge momentum swing here in the second half. Ole Miss, 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns. A high kick to Roan. He will take it to the 42. Comes left side, has a blocker if he can just cut the corner, but he will be chased out of bounds at about the 48-yard line. 44-yard punt, 6-yard return by Andre Roan. That's where Ole Miss will take over for their 3rd possession of the second half. Michigan, Dave Ryan, Mike Godfrey, Jerry Punch, bringing you the inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. Ole Miss, 2 possessions in the second half. They have scored on both possessions. Great field position has been part of the story for the Rebels. They start this possession on their own 48-yard line. Atheridge fakes the give and will throw the ball. That is Rufus French, the tight end. He will get maybe a couple. As we check in on the sidelines with Dave Ryan.
Guys, this is a critical defensive stage for Marshall in this game. After that lost offensive drive for a touchdown by Ole Miss, offensive line coach Hugh Nall told his charges, guys, we've done it now. Now it's time to go for the jugular. We even see players coming off the field, guys, for Ole Miss, joking with each other. The Marshall players are tired. Now we take advantage. Now it's time to strike.
Oh, indeed. You can feel the momentum swinging here. Early in the second half, Ole Miss up by 4. Avery, they stretch it out. He tries to cut back, but nothing doing. Great pursuit. John Grace there to make the tackle. B.J. Cohen pursuing from the backside.
You don't win as many games as Marshall's won in the 90s and go away quietly, huh? There's still a lot of fight left in this ball club. They've won a lot of ball games. Jim Donnan, who went on to Georgia, and a lot of people say took a pay cut going from Marshall to Georgia at the time to take that head job, built this program, and sure, he's sitting home watching this ball game, proud of what he has built here, and Bob Pruitt's maintained it.
Oh, indeed, he should be proud of his job at the University of Georgia this year, too. A great finish for the Bulldogs. 3rd and 9. Ole Miss 4 for 4 on 3rd down conversions here in the second half. Patridge will make it 5 for 5. What a catch by Rufus French.
That was an option route. That was an option route by Rufus French. Now, what I mean by an option route, he's going to work down to the sticks and break off the defender. Rufus French went 10 yards. You're going to see him come out. Here he is, number 9. Now he's working right here against the linebacker. Breaks off, and that ball is thrown right on the money by Stuart Patrick. Big, big first down.
And Rufus told me, he said, my mom and dad, Joel and Annie Ruth French, are watching back in Amory, Mississippi. Couldn't get here to watch the ball game, so tell mom and dad I said Merry Christmas. I'll try to make it interesting for him.
And he's been, well, they made it interesting, but he's been more active here in the second half.
All right, great reception. He's fighting his way to the 30-yard line. That's Sheldon Morris for a gain of 12 and another Ole Miss first down.
You know, when you look at Stuart Patridge now, he's come out in the second half now, and he's had a big-time third quarter. But when the new staff arrived at Ole Miss, he quit the football team, Jerry, in the spring, and he returned in the fall. Can you imagine if he wouldn't have come back? Because he led his team to thrive in the two-point play versus Mississippi State. His dad was a former player for Mississippi State. What a big win for Ole Miss in the history of their football program.
Oh, indeed. What a great effort Stuart Patridge has had as a redshirt senior. Trying to lead his team to a bowl victory. John Avery dancing around and, again, make something out of nothing. We'll get 2 or 3. We told you what a huge momentum swing. The first half belonged to the Thundering Herd of Marshall, up by 10 at the half, 17-7, although the yards were fairly close. In the second half, it has been all Ole Miss.
Well, it's been no Moss.
No Moss.
That's what it's been, no Moss.
And no Randy either.
No, and he has been ineffective here. And what Marshall defensively needs now is some kind of stop, some kind of turnover, get a fumble or an interception and stop this drive and get Randy Moss back on the field.
All right, Patridge back to throw. 2nd and 8, has the receiver. And that will be another first down. Ken Lucas, he's the speedster, the true freshman from Cleveland, Mississippi.
Well, that play just before the halftime, man, woke Stuart Patridge up, too. You know, that might have been so much disgust on the part of the offense of not failing to go in there that they decided to come out the second half. And this is the type of offense I expected to see here. They're going to let this clock run down.
And that will have been the last play in the third quarter as the clock ticks away. What a quarter.
Threw 2 touchdown passes. Andre Roan caught that one. Came back out of the shotgun. Line gave him good protection. Deuce McAllister down the sideline, and they're knocking on the door for more.
And that man right there is Stuart Patridge. 10 of 14, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. And, folks, that's in the third quarter.
He got hot.
University of Mississippi driving. 1st and 10. Deep in Marshall territory. Patridge looking toward the end zone. And
boy, he should have had that one picked off. Larry Moore had a shot at that one.
Yeah, I'm going to comment on the fact, I think that it was the 6th game of the year when Tommy Tuberville turned this program around. They had gone to play at LSU. Ole Miss is 3-2. They just lost at Tennessee. They are trailing at halftime, and Tommy Tuberville told his players, we are not going to punt in the second half. We're going to come out and do whatever it takes to win the football game. They were 4 for 4 on 4th down conversions in the second half and beat LSU and went on to be able to qualify for a bowl bid. As that pass given to Avery, and now flags, whistles, you name it.
Yeah, it's holding on Sheldon Morris, number 86, and Bob Pruitt was down the sideline, and he was going to make sure they threw that flag.
Boy, Pruitt almost made the tackle.
Yeah, he ran faster than John Avery did on that play. And that's the mistake you're looking for if you're Marshall. You want to stop this drive. Take it all the way back.
Offense. 10 yards, spot of the foul. Replay, second down.
Now, Jerry, that's not a good trade. All the way back to the 27 for a down.
Now they've got to get inside the 6-yard line to get a first down. Talking about Ole Miss, 2nd and a hike. Make it.
Maybe time for a draw here to John Avery. Some type of John Avery play.
Shotgun formation early in the fourth quarter. Patridge pump fakes, looking deep, throws it up, and out of bounds. Intended for Sheldon Morris, but we have a flag in the backfield.
Devon Colburn's going to be called for holding. They're going to back this one up about a few more. You pace those from here.
Well, it'll be third
going the wrong way.
Third in a day's ride if this penalty is stepped off.
They're a long way from the 16-yard line where they were at a little while ago.
Well, and they've got to go to the 6-yard line to get a first down.
This is big right here because this game is still one Randy Moss pass away.
Yeah, Marshall by no means anywhere close to being out of this football game, but their quick strike capabilities, Cold Claw, Moss, Pennington, and this guy right here, Tommy Tuberville, he knows it. not liking what he's seeing here early in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss owned the third quarter. And Pruitt now, Bob Pruitt, the head coach of Marshall, saying, well, we got to hold them here and get this defense off the football field.
Yeah, 2nd and 40. This is not a good situation to be in for Ole Miss. Just got to hang it up.
And that pass complete. That is French, Rufus French. 11-yard gain. That'll get back part of it.
Now you got to try to get in field goal range here, Jerry, because you're so far away. 3rd and 29. Rufus French has been active here in the second half. Didn't have a catch in the first half. Leads Ole Miss coming in with receptions. Joe Panunzio is his coach. He had Chris Mangum last year, who's now with the Carolina Panthers. They've had good tight ends at Ole Miss.
Well, talking about, there's a look at Rufus's numbers for the night. Very, very soft hands. It says that Kellen Winslow caught a tight end.
Noel Mazzoni, the offensive coordinator. Not many plays you come up with in 3rd and 29.
Patridge gets a little pressure. Now flush out of the pocket, looking downfield, has a receiver, and Grant Hurd goes up and can't hold on.
The pressure really stopped that play, but John Avery was running free down the middle of the football field, but Stuart Patridge never could get set to throw him the football. That was big there for Marshall. Those 2 holding calls, big.
All right, Steve Lindsey has kicked one from 52 yards, but they will not try. They will punt the ball. Kevin Cooper, who is the hang middle kicker. B.J. Summers standing on his own 7-yard line to receive. There's a look at Kevin Cooper.
That's exactly what you want right there. That's the kick you want.
Very high, and Ole Miss trying to get it inside the 5, and they will do it at the 1. No, they say it was in the end zone. The one official started to put the ball down at the 1-yard line. The other one says no, it is a touchback, and will come out to the 20.
Well, that's big there, too.
All right, incredible effort by Ole Miss to possibly try to get that ball down deep in Marshall territory, but the Thundering Herd will get it 1st and 10 on their 20-yard line.
This was a large, medium, and small pizza. Now, Little Caesars.
2 seconds to play in the football game. Marshall's 4th consecutive possession starting at their own 20-yard line. Now Pennington looking downfield. Overthrows Randy Moss up about the 30.
You got to try to go to him, Jerry. Then in the 3rd quarter, Marshall only had the ball 10 plays, 39 yards. So Ole Miss dominated that quarter, but you still have to go to Moss, Randy Moss. Now, the difference in the second half is Ole Miss Arch Kaufman, the defensive coordinator, has put the pressure on Chad Pennington, has not allowed him time back in the pocket.
And Doug Chapman, who ran the ball pretty effectively in the first half for Marshall, has been silent, basically shut out here in the second half. Pennington changing the play at the line of scrimmage. Play clock, and he just does get the play off. He gets pressured by Price. Great pass upfield. And John White, who began the year as a starter at tight end, makes the reception for the first down after a gain of 13.
Yeah, good throw under pressure by Chad Pennington. Again, Brock Price trying to pressure him. John White uses 6'6" frame. Misdirection play, fake to Doug Chapman coming out the backside. Good arm strength on that ball because he had no follow-through, Chad Pennington.
All right, now Marshall trailing by 4, 21-17, trying to get their offense on track here in the 4th quarter. Pennington gets pressure, and they were trying to go inside with a flanker screen to Randy Moss, and Ole Miss had about 3 or 4 defenders right there.
Well, they read that all the way. Armigas Spearman, number 4, was right on top of Moss, and he was just running right with him on the screen.
There's an Ole Miss player down on the field. As you see some of the training staff trying to rub some of the calves that are, I'm sure, are cramping from some of the Marshall players.
As bad as Marshall's played the 3rd quarter, Jerry, they're 1 play away from getting this lead back.
All right, while Tim Mullins, the head trainer for the University of Mississippi, checks out the player down, we will take a break and come back with more from the Silverdome in Pontiac. And from free safety, there's Griffin standing on the sidelines, and Strickland will play.
They're going after him, too.
And it's a jumping contest, and Moss jumped a little bit early, and the ball lands right in Timothy Strickland's hands.
Well, that was a good play by Timothy Strickland, a free safety, and now Malika Griffin will come back into the ball game, but they were trying to go, and Timothy Strickland was going to give him the little out route, but does a good job of staying back on a deep throw. It was underthrown by Chad Pennington. Griffin's back in the ball game.
Well, that classic Randy Moss move of staying behind the defender, then turning in front, leaping to catch the ball and come down and just take off on a gallop. Pennington 3 of 9 for 29 yards this half. Avoids one potential tackler and has the receiver. That's LV, Lavorne Coldlaw. And depending upon the spot, he should be very close to the first down.
He's got the first down, Jerry, and good play by Chad Pennington. A 3-man rush by Ole Miss. Gave him some time to throw.
There's Morris Scott, number 95. Scott had almost gotten to Pennington. He ducked under him and was able to get the ball away. Best offensive showing of the second half for the Thundering Herd of Marshall, and Pennington quickly gets rid of it. Brock Kreitz right in his face when he turned around. Kreitz coming from the backside from his weak side linebackers.
That's twice they've run the naked to Brock Kreitz, which means there's nobody out there blocking Brock Kreitz. They're trying to give a fake to the right side and figure that the defensive end on the other side will not come after the quarterback. But you see Brock Kreitz, both times he's been able to defend that play. And it's tough for the quarterback going to his left to wheel around with his head and his body and throw that ball quickly.
All right, 3 wide receivers, bottom of your screen. One of them is Moss, and they're going for him. And he will make the catch, and the flag comes down.
Well, I don't know about that. Malika Griffin single covered, and from the play start, Malika Griffin was beat.
28-yard gain.
Defensive pass interference. Penalty refused. Results in a play. First down.
Jerry, you could see it coming. As bad as they played in the third quarter, and Ole Miss had a chance to go for the juggler and didn't do it. And now Marshall's got new life. Malika Griffin beaten here by Randy Moss. A little pushing going on, and there's the catch. Marshall in business.
Randy Moss having come off to catch his breath.
Now you try to run Chapman a little bit, Jerry, because the passing game's opened up.
Deepest penetration of the second half by Marshall, and overthrows the intended receiver, Nathan Poole. Gary Thigpen, the cornerback, right with Poole step for step.
Well, when you have a player, the ability of Randy Moss, he signed by Notre Dame out of high school, and then they dropped him, and Florida State picked him up, and Bobby Bowden, he had a problem, and ended up going to Marshall, and probably is playing his last college football game tonight.
There's the numbers on Moss. 3 receptions, 105 yards, including that very first play from scrimmage for Marshall, an 80-yard touchdown grab. 2nd and 10. The Thundering Herd. This time they will give the ball to Chapman. Pretty good hole right side. He spins out of a tackle and is caught from behind by Brock Kreitz.
Well, you knew it was just time, because the way they're throwing the football now, Ole Miss is trying to defend the secondary a little bit. Doug Chapman, who has had a quiet second half, gets his handoff and gets some nice blocks. Looking to hold, but now here's the missed tackle in the secondary. A little spin move, and you can't have those missed tackles. That's Anthony McGee.
Chapman 15 carries for 100 yards. As the Thundering Herd now threatening for the first time in the second half. Chapman again, and runs into the back of his offensive lineman. That's John Wade, the center.
He's a good center, too. John Wade, Brian Reed, Bert Scarborough. The offensive line now has taken over the line of scrimmage again. Good block. They caught him on a little angle to the left side. John Wade down the field. Mike Gillum, a nice block. Now you think Randy Moss in the fade, but if you don't want to run the ball with Chapman, you got the fade possibilities.
All right, Moss, top of your screen. We'll watch for Pennington. They throw the screen inside to Chapman, and he will walk into the end zone.
Beautiful play. Everybody and their brother went with Randy Moss.
They were all thinking what you were thinking.
Yeah.
Moss in the face.
They were thinking Randy Moss was going to get that football. Nunez, the offensive coordinator, was heading for Texas as an assistant coach with Mac Brown after this ball game.
Now Doug Chapman from 6 yards out puts the thundering Herd back on top. Point is up and good, and this 80-yard drive in 11 plays ends with the screenplay, the sophomore Doug Chapman. And just that quickly, with 10 minutes and 12 seconds remaining here in the football game, the Thundering Herd back on top by 3.
Anytime the police give you a traffic ticket, you have 2 important...
John Avery.
That one left the field about the 45-yard line.
Gates Brown used to hit him that way in Detroit. Him and Al Kaline and Bill Freehand and Mickey Stanley and Jim Northup. That's 68 Tiger baseball team.
That's before my time, Coach.
Yeah, they were a great team. Denny McClain, Mickey Lolich.
Oh, indeed. Well, this guy right here's got a lot going through his mind right now, knowing that he would like to somehow turn this momentum back around in these final 10 minutes and get some points.
Going to take and make them kick over again. I think illegal. So let's see if they kick it out of bounds again. You know, when you watch the 2 receivers for Ole Miss, they try to switch at the end. And if you kick that ball down to numbers, they may not be able to get to it because they're caught in the middle of the field. Let's see if they try to switch again.
That, of course, is Ken Lucas and John Avery. Lucas 24, Avery is 20. Lucas is the speedster, the true freshman out of Cleveland, Mississippi. And Avery, of course, the Ole Miss record with 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns. Low line drive kick will go out of bounds. Again.
Yeah, that's one way to make sure you don't handle the kickoff return. Because they had a chance to knock out Marshall and didn't take advantage of that.
All right, this time another low line drive. It'll be, no, it won't be fielded. And now Lucas gets it at his 15-yard line, 20, 25, and that's about as far as he'll get.
There's a flag. Well, that was the kind of kick you wanted right there. Bounced around a little bit. I don't think you want this penalty if it's on Marshall.
Marshall running back Javon Darling over there to help chase him out of bounds. Marshall got a break somewhat by being able to chase him out inside the 30-yard line.
After the play was ruled dead. Personal foul. Late hit out of bounds on the kickers. 15 yards from the end of the run. First down.
Yeah, you run down there a couple times, you get tired, you want to make somebody pay.
All right, Monday at 3:30 on ESPN2, Big West Conference champ Utah State matches up with the Bearcats of Cincinnati in the first ever Humanitarian Bowl, live from Boise, Idaho. That's Monday at 3:30 on ESPN2, your home for college football. That man right there cannot be very happy with that situation there. They are just giving yards away here in the fourth quarter. Avery cuts it back, dances up across the 45.
You know, Jerry, Matt Luke tonight, the center, number 50. He's had a knee injury for Ole Miss. Didn't practice the last 2 weeks, and everybody talked about that he must stay on the field tonight. You talked to the trainer. He talked about close to being an operation, but Matt Luke has given a great effort tonight at center position.
Well, incredible courage. They said he's small of body, but big of heart. Strained ligaments in his right knee. Came back and played the second half against Mississippi State. This time, Deuce McAllister tries to break free, and he will have enough for the first down. As we check in down on the sidelines with Dave Ryan.
Dave, well, Jerry and Mike, each program for this bowl game took a very different approach in terms of their game preparation. Down at Ole Miss for 4 days last week, they ran 2-a-day practices with full pads and full hitting, plus 3 hour-and-a-half practices once they got to Michigan. Marshall, a much more traditional approach to their bowl game preparations, just 1 practice a day, not as much hitting. We'll see if that conditioning will take effect here from Ole Miss late in the 4th quarter.
You know, Dave, Tommy Tuberville talked about the fact it was almost like another spring practice. They worked a lot on conditioning on their first practice in the 2-a-days. They worked on game plan in their second practice. And McAllister, the true freshman, refusing to go down.
He's a better inside runner, really, than John Avery is. John Avery likes to scoot to the outside, but Deuce McAllister, 6'1", 190. The freshman who I said earlier, Notre Dame had high on their recruiting list, and Ole Miss took him away from him.
You know, Coach, I'm watching Matt Luke, the center we're talking about a minute ago, and he is barely able to get up after each play and get back to the huddle. A lot of courage for that young man, the junior from Gulfport, Mississippi.
Oh, there's no doubt, Jerry, they need Matt Luke in this football game.
SEC academic honor roll for Matt Luke. He's a legacy kid. His father, Tommy, a defensive back at Ole Miss from 1964 to 66. His brother, Tom, was a quarterback there from 89 to 91.
It's an interesting strategy move by Noel Mazzoni and Tommy Tuberville and Eddie Grant, the running back coach, now to bring in Deuce McAllister late in the ball game like this and take John Avery out. Deuce McAllister obviously looks like he's got fresh legs running the football.
McAllister, a super prep All-American, ranked 17th in the nation last year as a defensive back, coming out of Morton High School in Mississippi. McAllister, 2 carries for 19 yards in this possession. And he will get it again. Cuts it back and has some running room, and no. Can't quite break free. Be up down inside the 30-yard line. B.J. Cohen there to finally wrestle him down.
Well, this is good because this gives John Avery a chance to rest on the sidelines a little bit to be able to come back in a rested running back.
There's John Avery. Dislocated his left elbow on the 3rd play of the season against University of Central Florida. Missed the next 3 football games. Came back against Vanderbilt with an impressive performance. Had a rib injury against Tulane down in the Superdome in New Orleans. McAllister, huge hole right side. He cuts to the outside all the way down to the 20-yard line.
Well, you got a hot hand. You just keep running Deuce McAllister behind Todd Wade, Rufus French, and Boyd Kitchen. On the right side, got a nice double right in here. And the linebacker, number 28, McLeod, got caught up in the double team. John Avery, very happy for the freshman running back to do well.
Very unselfish football player. Nice young man. John Avery. As McAllister back on the sidelines and Avery back in the football game.
Good strategy.
1st and 10, 20-yard line. Avery, arrested Avery, cuts it back, and not much running room.
See, there's the difference in the 2 running backs, though. McAllister's going to hit it inside a little bit quicker than John Avery. John Avery's going to stutter step and try to look for outside plays first. Still a dangerous back. And Jerry, I thought what you said early in this program when he got a chance to talk to Barry Sanders, what he said to him, that you're a great role model for me. And I just think that's so much when we need role models. Barry Sanders is an outstanding one.
You know, Avery said that he told Barry Sanders it's not what you do on the field, but what you do off, the way you carry yourself for football, that I wanted to model myself after. 2nd and 9, and lots of pressure. Patridge got it away, but John Grace just leveled him from his weak side linebacker position.
Talked about the coaching staff of Ole Miss was concerned about John Grace's blitzing ability. Just got Stuart Patridge as he was throwing that football. Last third down and 9 that I remember Ole Miss having, they decided to go to Rufus French on an option route.
All right, 5 minutes, 45 seconds remaining in the football game. Marshall up by 3. And Ole Miss with a 3rd and 9 from the 20-yard line. Patridge looking toward the end zone and has the receiver. Touchdown. Grant Hurd makes the catch. A 19-yard reception.
There wasn't much room to fit that in, Jerry, and he fit it in. Against B.J. Summers.
Well, what a great pass by Stuart Patridge.
Grant Hurd had to catch the beginning of the ball game and this catch. Go back to those kickoffs now and the penalty.
Well, Lindsey up with the extra point is no good. And the margin will stay at 3. Well, it's starting to heat up here as we wind down in the 4th quarter. It's a seesaw football game. Ole Miss going back on top.
He did a great job, and he's only a freshman, 6'3", 302 pounds. And there's the catch by Grant Hurd. But that guard, the freshman guard, Terrence Metcalf, made a good pickup on the linebacker to give Stuart Patridge the time he needed to throw that touchdown pass.
Patridge's 3rd touchdown pass of the 2nd half. Lindsey kicks it away. High, end over ender. Will be kneeled down in the end zone by Nathan Poole. Well, to recap the scoring here in the 4th quarter, Doug Chapman, a 6-yard touchdown reception to put Marshall up 24-21. Then with 5:39, that 19-yard reception by Grant Hurd to put Ole Miss back up 27-24. Don't forget SportsCenter coming up next at the conclusion of what is building to be quite a shootout here in this final 5 minutes and 32 seconds. And Pennington, the short toss over the middle to L.V. Lamorne Coldclaw.
Jerry, you go back to the field position that Ole Miss was given by Marshall because the 2 kicks out of bounds and then the personal foul. So they're starting around the 45, 48-yard line. So that puts your defense in a big bind.
And the missed extra point a moment ago.
Yeah, lets some things open here.
Well, it puts Marshall within a field goal of tying it up, and we could be talking overtime. The give this time, no, the fake to Chapman. Wide open downfield, and Moss. Boy, got to believe that Moss may have looked up and saw Timothy Strickland.
Well, I'll tell you what, he knows he made a big mistake because I think he took his eyes off the football and he heard Timothy Strickland, number 3, coming. First of all, he's had a tough time tonight getting off the line of scrimmage. Malika Griffin with the contact. Now watch. He takes his eye off the football, drops the ball on a big 3rd down play here.
Oh, he did indeed look over and see Strickland coming and knew that he was going to get belted if he caught the football. 3rd and 2. The thundering herd of Marshall. Single step back. Pennington changing the play at the line of scrimmage. 2 wide receivers. He will give it to the tailback who just cut through an open 40-45. And a great run by Doug Chapman to keep the drive alive. 19-yard gain.
Big play by Doug Chapman. Just continuing to keep his feet moving. He's tired. Going to come out of the ball game here. They're replaced by Lowell Turner, his backup, who's had a big year. We're going to have a fantastic finish here, Doc. 4:43 on the clock. Good cutting ability. Flat cut there. Ran by Strickland.
Well, Gary Thigpen, if he didn't corral him, then he's going to score. Chapman, 17 carries, 127 yards tonight. And Chad Pennington looks up and realizes he's going to probably lose the on top. Fourth quarter, Marshall driving. And talk about offense. We have had 844 yards of total offense in these two football teams thus far tonight. And to further talk about the numbers, how about the attendance? Tonight's announced attendance, 43,340 fans. What a great way to begin a bowl game. Motion by Colclough. They will give the ball to Low Turner. And he will push the pile as we have a penalty. Flag on the play. R.J. Detellier from the Big East Conference.
Jerry, you're talking about the attendance tonight. George Perlis has done a marvelous job here. UAW here in Detroit spent $35,000, bought 10,000 tickets for the kids of Detroit and Pontiac. Bussed them here, gave them sandwiches. So hats off to Steve Jokic, the union leader, and Ernie Lofton.
A lot of fans coming a long way. Those folks from Marshall, 6 hours from Huntington, West Virginia. The folks from Oxford, Mississippi coming up. In charter after charter landing last night here in Detroit. First and 10. Chapman back in as a lone setback. He will get the football. Huge hole, right side, cuts it outside, back inside, and is finally chased down from behind. Malika Griffin is there, and so is Morris Scott. And Scott has not gotten up. He is having trouble getting up off the playing field.
Boy, good blocking on the right side of the line. See him come off. They get the block down by the tackle, and the guard pulls around. That's Jamie Rogers down, Brian Reed around. The tight end, Jared Keeley, blocking number 84. They got it sealed off pretty well. Now you're in the secondary. You get a good block for your wide receiver, Jared Long, and you're in business.
All right, Scott had a shoulder problem coming into this football game. He went off holding that right shoulder, so we'll try to get an update on him. Chapman, 18 carries, 144 yards. Pennington to Moss inside the 10-yard line. Gain of 14. It'll be first and goal for the Thundering Herd.
With that big frame he has, 6'5", 210, he can yield off the Gary Thigpen, who's 5'9", 165. He just does a nice job positioning his body. Short post, he takes up the field. Now he just shields off the little defensive back with his body. Gary Thigpen on the tackle. Marshall trying to put this one away.
Moss, 4 receptions for 119 yards tonight. And what will probably be his final college football game.
Got to be thinking fade again.
And Pennington is leveled from behind. Great rush by Andre Harrison, who leads the team in sacks coming into the night, the 2-year starter out of Washington, D.C.
And Jerry, down here, because the two receivers, L.B. Colclough is 6'3", Randy Moss is 6'5", so you've got the possibility of the fade against Gary Thigpen, 5'9", Malika Griffin, 5'8".
Second and goal, line of scrimmage, the Ole Miss 9-yard line. Marshall trailing by 3 points, 3 minutes, 9 seconds to play.
Wide, they've got their wide receivers against the corners, 1-on-1.
Pennington looking to the end zone, and he can't hold on. Big pin right in front of Randy Moss.
Tried to go to the fade to Randy Moss and underthrew it a little bit under pressure. Chad Pennington trying to pick his big, tall receiver on the fade. Good job by Gary Thigpen getting his hands on him. Just didn't give him any room to make that catch.
Thigpen had a right arm in between two of Moss's hands and was able to strip the ball free before Moss could pull it in the end zone. Third and goal, 9-yard line. Shotgun formation, Pennington, and he will give it inside. 2-yard line, 1-yard line, touchdown, Marshall. Doug Chapman from 9 yards out puts the thundering Herd back on top.
With the 4 wide receivers, Jerry.
Opened up that draw. Now Billy Malashevich on for the extra point, and that is up and good. And now there's a 4-point differential with Marshall up 31-27.
Jerry, the big thing now is Marshall hasn't been able to kick the ball off, so they need a good kickoff against Ole Miss to try to pin them back there and not give them great field position. Here's the run, 4 wide receivers. Good job ducking in, a good power run there by Doug Chapman to get in that end zone.
Chapman had rushed for over 100 yards in 6 of his last 7 football games, including a career-high 180 yards this year against Akron. There's a look at Chapman from Chester, Virginia. The scoring drive, 9 plays, 80 yards, 2 minutes, 42 seconds. And a great call by the offensive coordinator, Tim Nunez, on that draw play to Chapman.
Hey, Jerry, you know the other thing that's interesting, Marshall's got an outstanding football team. 37 of their players are from their home state, West Virginia, so they build a lot of loyalty when you get them that close.
And don't forget, SportsCenter coming up next at the end of this exciting shootout here at the Silverdome.
Here's the big mystery of the night, the kickoff team.
The freshman J.R. Jenkins, and he will just roll it along the ground. It picks up at the 25. They shuffle it back to Avery, and he's trying to get to the outside, and all that maybe for a yard. Doug Hodges, the cornerback, will run him out of bounds at the Ole Miss 25-yard line.
Ole Miss has their full complements of timeouts. Now, they failed just before half without any timeouts, but they got 3 timeouts. 2:44 on the clock. Marshall feels victory. Their defense needs to suck it up one more time.
Great comeback in the second half. In the third quarter by Ole Miss, and then in the fourth quarter, the thundering Herd of Marshall. Couldn't ask for a better football game to kick off the Motor City Bowl. They sucked it up around the 39-yard line. Corey Peterson.
And George Burris has to be happy with his first game. The crowd and what's happened here in the Motor City Bowl.
Well, they sold almost 50,000 tickets here for this first football game, and a crowd of over 43,000 here in attendance.
Jerry, you think back on the last game of the year, Ole Miss took the ball against Mississippi State at last drive and was able to punch it in for a score.
Stuart Packard showing a lot of poise and composure down in Starkville, Mississippi. Inside handoff to McAllister, and he cuts through an opening to the 45. And now they blow the whistle. But not before McAllister had gained about 6 yards.
One of the Marshall players is injured, and this was calling timeout.
That's Girardi Mercer, who was down, and now will get up and trot off the field.
Charge Ole Miss with a timeout.
I was trying to read Tommy Tuberville's lips. He was saying, who called timeout? Well, and Rufus French is 6'4", 245. Patrick's trying to escape. Throws it in the direction of Corey Peterson.
Well, that was number 5 again. B.J. Cohen with the pressure. He has been in the backfield all evening.
Second and 10, 2 minutes to play. Patrick's numbers for the night: 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, all 3 coming in the second half, and 1 interception. 2nd and 10. Pretty good protection for Patrick. Looking downfield, has a receiver, and he is about a yard shy. That is Peterson, the flanker. John Gray is there to keep Peterson from turning to reach for the first down. It'll bring up a 3rd and short.
Peterson wide open on the curl. They had a curl flat route. Rufus French in the flat.
Now, no question they're in 4-down territory. Clock running down. No doubt in Tommy Tuberville's mind. As they hand the ball off to McAllister, he cuts it through an opening 30, 25, 20, and finally brought down at about the 18-yard line by B.J. Summers, who saved the touchdown.
Well, McAllister has ignited this offense in the second half, in the 4th quarter. He's come in with fresh legs. He's run hard inside, and he's been able to break off some big plays. He's going to go out of the ball game now in favor of John Avery, who's probably a better pass receiver out of the backfield.
McAllister, 6 carries, 62 yards. That 24-yard run. And now Patridge has a receiver inside the 10. And he did not get out of bounds, and the clock will run less than a minute to play. That is Grant Hurd. Well, that extra point by Ole Miss that was missed on their previous touchdown has provided a 4-point margin for Marshall. So a field goal is not going to help them much.
Not an option, Jerry. They use a timeout here. They still have 1 timeout left.
You almost wonder, you don't want to score too quickly. Randy Moss on the field. What a football game.
Been a great game. I want to pass along to George Perlis' mother is going to be 90 years old. Nellie, she's watching the ball game tonight on January 5th, 90 years old. So again, a great evening for George and his committee and the fans that came out here tonight. This bowl game is going to be a good bowl game for teams across the country.
Oh, indeed. What a way to kick off our National Car Rental Bowl Week coverage with this inaugural Ford Motor City Bowl. 2 evenly matched football teams from the MAC and the SEC. A seesaw battle here in the second half. 4 points separate these 2 football teams with less than a minute to play. And Ole Miss, very reminiscent of what happened in their final game of the year in Starkville, Mississippi.
Jerry, they've got Deuce McAllister in there. He's a better inside runner. Let's see if they go to him.
1st and goal to the 9-yard line. McAllister to the 2-yard line.
And that's a first down, so that'll stop the clock. See, he runs so hard inside. He's got good leg drive. He's got good body lean. He's just a tough inside runner. And you take out of John Avery, I mean, you got to have a lot of confidence in your young freshman back.
Ole Miss fans that say McAllister reminds them of 2 Innocent, the former Rebel running back that has such a bruising style inside. And he leaps in and touchdown. Touchdown for Ole Miss on that leap by the true freshman, Dew McAllister.
He's been the difference. His style of running has helped the Rebels tonight. Good blocking again. I can't say enough about Matt Luke, that center. He's played solely on guts.
Well, Tommy Tuberville going to go for 2, but they got about 28 players on the field.
You know, they're going to go for 1 now. I think you got to go for 1 here.
They were holding up 2 fingers initially. Now they got.
Yeah, you got to go for 1. All
exactly.
you did was row it.
They got the offense off and the kicking team back on. The kick is up. Lindsey. It is good. And there's a penalty on the play. So not so fast.
Not so fast, Jonesy.
What a football game. Big East officiating crew here at the Silverdome tonight, talking it over.
You have to go for 1 here. The substitution there.
We have no flag on the play. The point is good.
Now Marshall has to get a kickoff return. They still have 2 timeouts left. Touchdown by Deuce McAllister, being able to stretch the ball out over the line
Gets good hurdle and gets that ball way over the line for the touchdown.
All right, here's a reaction from the Ole Miss bench. They know it's 6. Yeah, McAllister, 8 carries for 71 yards and a touchdown in the 4th quarter alone.
Jerry, I want to just say, there's the scoring drive. 2:26, again, started from the 35-yard line or the 25-yard line. 9 plays. Stuart Patridge getting used to that against Mississippi State. Took his team down for the winning score and then a 2-point conversion, and again tonight. But it's been fun working with you. Enjoyed it very much.
Well, I've enjoyed it too.
A great ball game. As you said, this is what the bowl season's all about.
Well, don't forget Sports Center coming up next. All the highlights of what happened here tonight. Games around the country, the NBA. What's going to come up in National Car Rental Bowl week in college football. Just getting kicked off.
Not over yet, Jerry. 2 timeouts. A lot of time to get down there to kick that tying field goal.
And Lindsey kicks it halfway to Wisconsin. Out of the end zone. That's big. Did not want to give Randy Moss a chance to grab that football.
Well, do you think they'll double Randy Moss here? I think they'll triple team him at this point.
Trip him? You said they'll trip him? I believe
they'll do that too.
I agree with you. They'll trip him. Well, folks.
Randy Moss, a Heisman candidate to the end. Outstanding season.
Marshall. And if he does decide to leave the Thundering Herd, what a career he's had at Marshall. What a great effort for Marshall University up in Huntington, West Virginia. Pennington, and intended for Moss. Gary Thigpen there in the coverage. 25 seconds to play.
Jerry, this Mid-American Conference made themselves proud tonight with this effort by this Marshall football team. They won their league. They had the playoff game with Toledo, beat a very good Toledo team who beat Purdue, an outstanding team. This is a very good conference, the Mid-American.
I totally agree. And, of course, you can't say enough about Tommy Tuberville, what he has done at Ole Miss in 3 years. As the pass is overthrown. Tuberville, in 3 years at Ole Miss, has never lost a non-conference football game. He is a perfect 9-0 at Ole Miss.
That's pretty good.
He has 68 kids on scholarship. 68 of those, 10 are walk-ons. He has 58 legitimate Division I college football players on this football team, and he went 7-4 in the SEC.
He's done a nice job, SEC Coach of the Year. And Marshall's done a very good job. 1AA moving up to Division I this year, and they show you how tough the Division I AA teams are around the country. This is a good football team.
All right, over the middle, and Moss has it at the 35-yard line. That will stop the clock. Good enough for the first down. 12 seconds. Brock Price brings him down, and now Moss is slow in getting up.
He's got to kill the clock right here.
Marshall with 2 timeouts left.
I don't think they have any timeouts left, right? They got 2 on the board here. They're going to take 1 here. There's a little confusion on how many they had.
Call timeout.
All right. What they were trying to do, Jerry, was a first down play, and they were trying to line up real quick and kill the clock and save the timeout.
And don't forget Sports Center coming up very shortly. 12 seconds to play. Pippen speaks. The Michigan-Syracuse hoop highlights. NFL playoff previews. Speaking of NFL playoffs, how about a performance here in this field last week by Barry Sanders? Congratulations. 2,000 yards in a season. Only the 3rd time in the NFL history that a back has done it. O.J. Simpson and Eric Dickerson. 184 yards rushing by Barry Sanders to put the Lions in the playoffs. NFC wildcard game at Tampa Bay on Sunday.
How about Ward Dunn? Rookie of the Year this year. Out of Florida State, a great young man there, too. Another great role model.
Exceptional young man, both on and off the playing field.
I'd say Chad Pennington tonight, folks, put his name in front of the audiences around the country as a future big-time quarterback. Got a big-time arm and a great quarterback mind.
12 seconds to play. Pennington back to pass, looking downfield, and has Moss
who has it. Oh, the ball is stripped free. And Brock Price stripped the football. And the officials say it is Ole Miss football with 1 second on the clock.
Yeah, you pick up the hymnals now. Church is out here with Brock Price making that play.
And how appropriate is the fact that Nate Lane, who wears the number 38, the Chucky Mullins Courage Award, he is the man who recovers the fumble.
Well, Marshall's really upset. Chad Pennington threw his helmet and did not like that call. Bob Pruitt is giving him an earful on the sideline. Randy Moss getting free. Strickland just misses the play, and let's see what happens. Brock Price, number 14, pulls it out. And Nate Wayne on the recovery.
1 second to play, and there's the frustration. What a great effort by Chad Pennington. And so the inaugural Motor City Bowl, the Ford Motor City Bowl, goes to Ole Miss. Once again, our final score, Ole Miss 34, Marshall 31. Coming up next is SportsCenter. For Mike Godfrey, Dave Rod, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Jerry Punch. Good night from Pontiac, Michigan. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader.